for quite some time. In fact, he's fled his beloved London, and I believe he's in Istanbul, which really should be Constantinople. But we will hold him accountable just as CM Punk held Sami Zayn accountable on Monday. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I must correct you. I'm in neither Istanbul nor Constantinople. I'm in Ankara, the administrative capital of Turkey. And right now I'm in the press conference theatre, which even though Mark Rutte is not expected to speak for half an hour, even though President Trump's not expected to speak for an hour, possibly more, you know how these things go, it is almost full. And I don't think it's really quite big enough. And I'm going to talk a little bit more softly than usual so as not to irritate the many people around me from around the world.
Well, wow. So that's right. You told us that you didn't even get to go to the good city. You got to go to the second tier. I'm so sorry about that. Not really. No Grand Bazaar for you. No Church of the Santa Sophia. No Blue Mosque. Maybe next time.
Oh, no, it's fascinating, though, nonetheless, to be in a place you've never been before with a culture that isn't the same sort of culture as you grew up with. Exchanging a country of churches for a country of mosques, a city of steeples for a city of minarets. And just it's a fantastic, interesting experience, I have to say.
Yeah, it's like going back to the great Roman Empire and how far that they had traveled and conquered the Ottoman Empire. Such rich history in Turkey, having been there myself. I will tell you, though, that, there are so many things that we could talk about, but have you covered the president before? Have you been there for one of these?
I went to the NATO summit last year in The Hague. It's different being at a NATO summit in Turkey from in the Netherlands. The security is even tighter at this NATO summit. They've shut down an enormous part of the city. There's whole office blocks, apartment blocks, hotels that are completely empty, roads that have been entirely vacated, and it's different. And where we are located just now at the presidential compound, I'm actually in the National Library of Turkey, which is a beautiful building, a sort of circular building with incredible spaces and galleries. It's really interesting. And then to see the world leaders come here to this grand location and discuss the security and the safety of all of us and all their different opinions about it, it's a privilege. It is.
Yeah, and the Turks kind of remind me of Sparta. They used to have a law, I'm sure they still do, but that if you disrespected the statue of Ataturk or the picture, you could go to jail for that, and they had severe penalties back in the day, but that was well before your time. That was what we call the 1980s, the late 1980s, early 1990s, when America still ruled the world.
Well, maybe it does. Maybe it will again. But there's still elements of that, I think, here. Turkish people, I have to say, have been wonderful, so helpful, so kind, friendly. The food's fantastic. I wonder whether President Trump is getting to enjoy the food. He had a summit dinner banquet last night with the heads of state and government and their partners. So no doubt he's enjoying the food and the hospitality too. He's not necessarily extending that goodwill to many of his NATO allies, though. He's been airing his grievances again, taking aim at Spain in particular. He's been talking about Greenland once again, forcing the Danish Prime Minister to come out and say that she would defend her country again, every inch of NATO territory, saying that Greenland is not for sale. So he's raising these old grievances at a summit which was actually meant to be about making President Trump happy by showing what all these European countries are doing to spend more on their defense, to take on the birds of defending Europe from the United States.
You see, this is the advantage of being with a pro. He's so used to people not talking about the subject matter that he automatically steers us back to what he's supposed to be talking about, which I'm sure he's overbooked today. Do you have a minute or not? It's up to you, Mr. Savage.
I've got a minute. Yeah, I do. Uh-huh.
Okay, quickly, and we'd love to get you tomorrow. CM Punk winning the world title.
I guess it makes sense. I think I mentioned this to you on social media. We could have plotted a 1,000-day reign for Sami Zayn, where he was essentially Roman Reigns, but trying to stop Roman Reigns from getting the title with the help of the Bloodline. I think that would have been a fantastic storyline. But fantasy booking rarely comes true, and now we have CM Punk back on top. And doesn't he look big, CM Punk, these days?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, he does. With respect to your great work and your integrity, we will let you go because I know you're on it today. So thank you, sir.
Thanks, Kevin. Take care.
Thank you. Jonathan Savage joining us. A privilege to have him on. And like I said, radio people are very strange, and Mr. Savage is a true pro because basically what he did is he broke down what happened yesterday. The president in Ankara, and again, he corrected me. I thought he was in Constantinople, which was the name before Istanbul. The president was there. He started talking about Greenland and Denmark and it's not Iceland, it's Greenland. I know it gets confusing. But classic Donald Trump yesterday, classic President Trump, where he goes, I don't know, they don't like me. They can spend their money. I don't care. Truly, I wish that we could figure out how, I don't know if it's a therapist that we need to break this down, but it's just fascinating. And the critics will say it's rambling, but it's just brilliance, the way the guy was just rolling yesterday. Reminds me of that old Limp Bizkit song, Rollin', Rollin', Rollin'. And that's what the president did yesterday. We're so used to controlled, so contrived, all these things. And really, truly, the president of the United States just went on and on and on. By the way, he wanted to let everybody know what he's doing on TikTok. And this will start your day. If you're having a stressful day, this isn't meant to provoke you unless you're a loon. This isn't meant to antagonize you, but sometimes you just need to go,
I was with President Xi, and I said, I hope you're not going to go into the war, because we don't want that. He gets 50% of his oil from the Strait of Hormuz, and he gets more than 50%. And he never went into the war. He didn't supply him equipment, He was great. I'm a big fan of President Xi. A lot of people say, oh, why? I watched a couple of people critical of the fact that TikTok, it's so bad, it's so dangerous, it's so horrible, they're spreading all these rumors. And the numbers came out yesterday. You know who's number one on TikTok? I am. I'm number one on TikTok. And all I talk about is how bad communism is, right? They say, oh, it's terrible, they're spreading, but I'm number one. And I listen to Gordon Chang. I like Gordon Chang, but he's always like negative. Oh, China's so terrible, they're so terrible. And TikTok is so terrible. But I'm number one on TikTok. I have like 4 billion views or something like that. So I don't know. People have to get their priorities straight.
I'm going to say something here. And it's been very frustrating for a lot of people. And by the way, great story on our website. Sun Valley is back. You've got Zuck. You've got Buffett, just 2 hours from where we are. Fascinating to me that the world's richest people come to Idaho at this time. And really, they come here because they can do so, and they can do so in relative obscurity, anonymity. They can do whatever they want. And I'm not saying anything nefarious is going on, but it was like one of the big mergers happened. I don't know if it was the Warner merger or what happened in Sun Valley. But it's, you got the Intermountain News. I believe they cover it. Is that right? No, the Mountain News, the Haley Comet. I don't know. The Ketchum Chronicle. I don't know what they do. But they do cover it, which is amazing. I'm just fascinated by those people coming here. And on one hand, you have the president talking about TikTok and Iran, and now we're shooting missiles, and then you have Sun Valley. Again, flashing light distracted me. But the president of the United States saying, I'm number one on TikTok, I'm not going to disagree with him. Oh, yeah, the war is going on again. And I think the president is going to be proven right on Iran.
I don't like him at all. And frankly, I think we waste a lot of time with them. I think we should just do our business. Can you imagine? They start shooting bombs, actually missiles at ships yesterday. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, a couple of others. And they don't know. I don't think they know what the hell they're doing, but they're bad people, very bad people. I think they're incompetent, by the way. Because if they were competent, they would have made a deal a long time ago, like, how about 47 years ago? So they've been in trouble for 47 years. and we took out their first set of leaders. We took out their second set of leaders. They want to take out the U.S. leader, me. I'm on every list. I saw things this morning. I'm on every single one of their lists. And so far, I guess I've been a little bit lucky. But
Well, people talk about that. They go, oh, Donald Trump is bad. Donald Trump is this. But remember, it was the Iranians that tried to kill him several times because he took down Soleimani, that no U.S. president, no U.S. administration has had the guts to do. The president of the United States did it. So he's in Turkey. And I hate to sound like a broken horse. I really do. I hate to sound like a broken horse. But here you have the president of the United States took down Soleimani, eliminated their nuclear weapons, wanted to make sure that the world was free. He exposed NATO for the frauds that they are. And let me try to give you the analogy. You ever, I don't know, maybe we should do, everybody has joint fences. And I'm amazed at the fence building thing, okay? Now, let's say you need a fence. You need a fence. And you need a fence, I need a fence, we all need a fence. And we all come together, and we all decide to throw in to pay for the community fence. And then you have people, the fence is good because it's borders and boundaries, like Michael Savage used to say. Maybe he still says it. And we're in there, we're doing our own thing. And one person decides they're going to take the fence, but they're not going to pay for it. And this is the person that just paid for the patio enclosure. This is the person that, paved their new driveway. Maybe they got their house painted, or they have all these things. Maybe they went to Window World and they got a great deal on windows, windowworldboise.com. Maybe they did that. And they don't pay for the fence, but they have the benefits of the fence. That has been NATO. For years and years and years, we've competed with the Germans, the Spaniards, everybody else. And yes, in their countries, those people have suffered terrorist attacks. Those people have suffered from being taken down. Those people have paid the price as well from terrorism. And then, instead of helping us when we're going after the Iranians, they decide no. And by the way, remember, when Ukraine was invaded by Russia, which is in your backyard, you still bought oil from Russia, which is amazing to me. When you think about this, look, I don't want to bag on Europe. I don't want to say I'm a European, but that's where we came from. The Europeans. I love that song, Europe, the Final Countdown, still used today. But in reality, are they our friends? Are they our buddies? Can we count on the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is where the president is right now, with our tax dollars, with everything else? I don't think so. I don't think so. And you could say rightly or wrongly, Donald Trump this, Donald Trump that, but, the media forgets. The media forgets that they tried to kill our president. Isn't that an act of war several times? By the way, phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. They tried to take down the president of the United States. And what did we do? Well, huh? And the media, and I guess I'm one-trick pony, as I used to call Tom Munz, one-tune Tom. And I'm one-tune Kevin. But you got to, Plattner, he would have been gone if he were a Republican. I was going to say Stephen Smith, on the Will Cain show, they're going back and forth. They used to work at ESPN together. And I know Stephen A. Smith is trying to be a politician. But when he's talking about the Republicans with Roy Jones in Alabama, I covered Roy Jones. When he became the Senate, he got no money. He got no this. The Republicans said, no, we're not going to be part of the guy. But the libs, now Plattner's trying to negotiate his surrender as if he's still the decider. And the media, with their double standards, the way they've covered this war, it's amazing that we've continued to roll. And now the Iranians are going to break this up. Oil prices going back up again. Hello, it's not over. They're not done with us until we're done with them. We hope you're not done, but how about this? The Team 250 celebration continues this week at Team Mazda in the Pre-Owned Superstore. What's a Team 250? It's your chance to drive a new Mazda or better-owned pre-owned vehicle with payments right around $250 a month. Here's a great example. Right now, you can lease a new 2026 Mazda 3 for just $250 a month with $3,335 cash or trade down. And because Team gives you up to 130% of book value for your trade, getting that $250 payment is easier than you think. Go Team 250. Shopping pre-owned instead? Aaron and Joel will help you find a quality used car, truck, or SUV with a payment that's right around, you guessed it, $250 a month. That's the sweet spot, everybody. And no matter what you buy or lease, Team will include a $250 gas card with your purchase. So this month, it's all about Team 250, $250 payments, or a $250 gas card up to 130% of book value for your trade. Get pre-approved at goteamcredit.com. There's no impact on your credit score, and you'll instantly see your buying power. Celebrate Team 250 all month long at Team Mazda in the Pre-Owned Superstore on the Boulevard or online at goteammazda.com. That's goteammazda.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. That's right. Not filler, but Miller at teammazda.com. We roll. The President of the United States, who is number one on TikTok or TikTok, saying that we should have finished this 47 years ago. Is he right? I believe that he is.
Because that's the way it goes. But we have great people. But these are evil, sick people, and we have to rid their cancer. Their cancer. And you know what you do? You got to cut out cancer early. Man, that's the way I feel. And I want to thank Mark.
There we have it. He's going to thank Mark. Well, we thank Mark, too. We thank you as well. More on the fires coming up. Not much we can do. Boy, how about Boise County? And, you know, Boise County been a subject on this program because of the political race, because of the allegations against elected officials. Now people might have to evacuate. Okay, let me give you the ignorant statement here. It's 2026. Could this have been prevented? Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. I guess it's that time of year again where it's about fire talk. Fire talk. This time, Boise County. This time, people are saying it's caused by humans. Maybe not a campfire, maybe fireworks. Does it really matter, Kevin Miller? Yeah, it does. Because people work very hard. People work very, very hard. And, you know, gratitude versus comparing, obviously, you have to take a look at things and say to yourself, you know, thank you, Lord, for blessing me. Thank you, Lord, for everything that we have. And one of the great scary things is then all of a sudden when you lose everything. Or, you know, I was watching one of the local media reports and they're talking about get a go bag. You know, because of the Claremont fire, the go bag. I don't know. I really wonder about this and how prepared we are. And this isn't a bagging on everybody. By the way, we had the mayor thanking all the firefighters. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for fighting the fires. Thank you, Mayor McLean, for doing that. You really have to wonder where we're going with this. Year after year, how in the world we're dealing with this. We've had people lobby politicians. We get the same old. You've got, you know, Boise firefighters, everybody fighting this fire. The wildfire season continues. Here's the release from the Boise Fire Department. Remain vigilant. Stay informed about firing conditions. And be prepared to evacuate if directed by emergency officials. This is an excellent time to review the City of Boise's Ready, Set, Go notifications. Yeah, I don't know. I would hope and I would pray that, quite frankly, we would we could improve this. And this is not bagging on the fire responders. This is bagging on just the system that we have and some type of way to make it better, some type of way to take a look at these things and say to ourselves, guys, nobody should lose their home because of a fire. And maybe that's antiquated. Maybe that's one of those issues. Dylan brought this up, and Tea Party Bob brought this up. And basically, we had Chief Hummel bring this up. He's encouraging community members, leaders, policymakers, and public safety stakeholders to engage in a broader conversation about the growing challenges posed by wildfire risk and downstream impacts on communities across the West. And here you have the chief talking about the emerging threats facing communities, increasing the intersection between wildlife risk, community resilience, and the availability and affordability of property insurance. Yeah. Insurance. How many of us have proper insurance? As wildlife behavior becomes more complex and destructive, communities are beginning to experience impacts that extend far beyond emergency responses. He's talking about public safety, economic and community resilience, da-da-da-da-da. However, we're talking about insurance and whether or not people are going to be able to afford insurance. I think he's the only guy that has brought this up. Maybe in Valley County, maybe somewhere else, we've heard from this, but what type of area are we living in when you can't afford insurance? That's the thing. And now Boise's threatened, Eagle's threatened, Boise County. It's no way to live, and then Dylan yesterday saying that the federal wildlife people, they've got to pay for their own hotel, and it's not like they make a lot of money to begin with, but they do it for the love of the game. See, that's the challenge. You're a victim of your own success because you're willing to do it. It's kind of like like living in Idaho. When you move here or you stay here, employers say, well, we're going to pay you in sunshine and rainbows. Huh? Sunshine and rainbows? Yeah, but my taxes, my creditors, my debtors, they don't care about that. They need money as we call it. No, you're going to get it in sunshine and rainbows because we know you love it so much, you'll do it for this ridiculously low wage. Sadly, this is how we treat our best. Years ago, and it was right before September 11th. I don't know, it might have changed the course of my career, my life, whatever. But Nashville, Tennessee reached out to me. And they wanted me. I could take my team, John Mounts, his wife at the time. They were getting ready to come with me. You know, you bring your team. And I said, well, you haven't offered me substantially more, but it's Nashville, man. We pay you with music and this, that, and the other. And I turned it down. Because I thought if you're going to make a lateral, or not a lateral move, a big move, they should pay you for what you do. We should pay people for what they do, especially people that are willing to go into these fires and do these risky, crazy, heroic things. And if we don't have enough money to pay for the firefighters in their hotel rooms, well, where's the money going? Ukraine? All right, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Window World Boise, windowworldboise.com. It is window replacement season. Get those windows done, affordable, credible, local. Window World Boise. Get those windows replaced. Save money on those utility bills, right? Especially right now. And you're going to go, Kevin Miller, it's a long, painful process. No, not at all. They come in, they measure, boom, boom, boom. The guys come in, they take care of it. If there's a Greg Ferreira, they take care of that. If somebody walks into a screen, not Kevin Miller. And you know who it was if it wasn't Kevin Miller. It wasn't Buster Miller. It wasn't Maggie Miller. I'm not going to say if it was Mrs. Miller. They came out and fixed it. Did a great job. Wonderful people. Wonderful people. The window replacement game, this is my opinion. You go east of the Great River, and it's all windows, windows, windows. And now we're starting to see that here. And there are people that will mail in flyers. In fact, I got a flyer from Window World. I go, dude, I already got the windows, right? And people will say, you got to do this and that and the other. Window World Boise, it's like, this is what it costs. This is what we can do for you. This is your warranty. No, no spice, no sizzle, all steak. Veteran and locally owned. Dedicated to you. WindowWorldBoise.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Time for Right Side Traffic, everybody.
Anything short of more military action and increase in U.S. strikes, would anything short of that get Iran to change its behavior?
Well, I don't think that would get Iran to change its behavior. We had several months of intense warfare. That didn't do the trick. So I think the United States is up against a harsh reality that more military action doesn't necessarily give you more in the way of results. Plus, the last thing we want to see is this war widen. We don't want to see Iran attack the energy or water infrastructure of its neighbors in the Middle East. So U.S. options are not great here, let's be honest.
Yeah, thank you, Richard Haas. And, of course, they all have a bias. And let me reveal this to you. And I'm sure our great talent, Clay, Buck, Sean, Lars, I'm sure they've broken this down to you. But that's the great thing about being on KIDO Talk Radio, or as we like to go back to the throwback, 580 KIDO, is that you have people that have been on the radio for years, with the exception of Clay and Buck, and this is what they do. No, I'm not throwing shade at Silly and Billy and Willie and Nilly and Philly and, people coming from the digital world and all sorts of things. But Sean Hannity, his first love, like Kevin Miller, has always been talk radio. He grew up on it. He was working, as he always talks about, drywall and stuff, and you'd listen to talk radio. Lars Larson, king of the Northwest, king of the North. Years and years, Portland, Seattle, taking the Northwest to D.C., to Israel. Kevin Miller, multiple markets. It's funny. We just did a major interview with a major news outlet in an industry newsletter. They were talking about it. They go, dude, you've traveled every region in the country except the Southwest. And I go, yeah. And it gives you a chance to get this perspective. And again, when you live talk radio, not just pretending to be in talk radio, or it's a job, not a lifestyle, you don't come up with the depth of research. And it hit me as I'm listening to Richard Haas, been in, Pointy Head Loon for quite some time, sitting there going on and on and on about how the options are bad. He wants Donald Trump to fail. It's like our friends, Rush Limbaugh say, I want Obama to fail. Look, if Donald Trump wins, J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio, they get in. And then we get another Supreme Court, maybe 2 or 3. And we may not like Amy Coney Barrett at this time, but she's a lot better than Sotomayor or Kagan or whoever else the loons put up. It's playing the long game. So the Looney Tunes that defended Plattner, the Looney Tunes, like those goofs in Seattle, the Looney Tunes are just going crazy because the president could pull this off. Kevin, oil prices are up, this, that, and the other. Yeah, the Iranians don't want him to win either. If I were writing a book on the president, I would call him the grand disruptor. So here we have it. The forces aligned against him. We start with the power rankings. Number 1, the mullahs. The mullahs and the ayatollahs, they don't want the president to win. They don't want the president to succeed. Because if the president wins, it's the end of them. The people that are backed by the mullahs, the terrorists, what are they going to do? There's no place to run, no place to hide. They're done. They don't want to be done. They want to have some fun. So those are the terrorists. We move on. The media. Donald Trump, is hated by them. And then we throw in our own liberal loons, the libs. So the libs, everybody's aligned against him. So they're surely not going to give him a fair and balanced perspective. Heck, the Belgian soccer team trolled him because he stood up for America. So yeah, we're not going to get an objective reading, are we? Of course not. Anyway, I digress. It's time for the Morning Al, calling from wherever to talk about whatever on 580 KIDO. But of course, Al, they don't want the president to succeed because it makes them look bad. Good morning, Al.
Well, good morning. No, they don't want him to succeed because if he succeeds, that means he's going to stop Marxism. Okay, Rubio isn't going to stop that. DeSantis isn't going to stop that. None of your boys are going to stop that. Only President Trump. He's the only one who will speak the truth. And so he's the one who will stop Marxism from destroying America. Because the fools who want this Marxism, they have no clue. They have no clue of what that means for them and for their progeny and for everything else. It means that America is absolutely a done deal. Okay, it means that we're thrown in the scrap heap of history. But anyway, I just wanted to, and we're talking about how President Trump says things and his ideas. And, yesterday Dylan talked about the death's head tattoo. Okay, now, Totenkopf in German. But, look at what we have to understand here is that we have these symbols, okay, all over the place. And everybody seems to understand what these symbols are, and they attribute various ideas to them. Well, look, the skull and crossbones is not a Nazi tattoo. It just isn't. Okay, this is a military symbol that's been used for centuries in millennia, and it's designed for psychological warfare to strike fear in the enemy of the people who they're fighting. Memento mori, okay? It's a reminder of your own mortality. And basically it shows fearless resolve, okay? That's what you want to do. Look, hey, baby, I'm dying, you're dying, we're all dying, let's get it on. Okay, that's why you put the death's head. Frederick the Great, okay, in the 18th century. I mean, this is probably the greatest military leader in the last half millennia. All of his hussars had the death's head on their hats. Okay, I mean, death and fearlessness and putting death on your hat is what people did. I mean, you go back to Golian, okay, in China. He would march his people to the very front line, and he would have them, and this is a real suicide squad, right? He'd have them march up there and slowly slit their own throats. And what would the enemy do? They'd run away. Okay, so the whole concept of the death's head. I mean, the pirates used the death's head. Oh, but wait a minute.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. The guy should not be elected to the Senate. The guy is a bad dude. And why in the world are you talking about this tattoo, bro? It's a losing cause.
No,
because Al in Ontario says it's not the Nazis, we're going to believe him. Now, are you defending the Nazis?
What I'm saying is this. What I'm saying is this. What I was talking about yesterday. Okay, everybody thinks they know what symbols mean. What the flag means to me, Kevin, is not what it means to you. What the word country means to me is not what it means to you. Okay, what they want to do is have everybody walking on eggshells. Kevin, I don't care what you think. You should not care what I think. Nobody should care.
I do care, but Al, look, I've covered the South, bro. I can tell you about flags. I can tell you about symbols. And I can also tell you about Big Mo. And I can tell you that you may be right, and I'm going to give you the guy who hired me his greatest advice that he ever gave me. So what? Nobody cares It's
So
the momentum.
what? Nobody cares. That's exactly that should be the motto, okay, of America today. That should be the motto, because that's exactly what we are. So what? Nobody cares. Nobody has enough common sense to care. Nobody has enough common sense to study and understand the basics of the human condition. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to tell you that the flag represents certain things to me and to everybody else, and everybody has different understandings. So if you're going to try and use that symbol to mean something specific, like white supremacism, what is that? But this is how you cow people. This is how you cow
Look,
them.
it's not me. I'm the one that talked about Sonny Houston yesterday. No, I get it, but I again, you're singing to the choir, number one, and number two, the guy never should have been running. It doesn't matter your interpretation of it. Everybody else thinks he's a Nazi, so he's a Nazi. He got to go.
Well, look, I mean, listen, you can think whatever you want.
Why are we talking about this when we're bombing Iran? The president's in Turkey. The Boise is on fire. This is what you're going with?
Yes, because here's the thing, okay? When you're talking about thought police, okay, when you're talking about putting ideas in people's heads, listen, I mean, the whole idea of going to war is something that we need to understand at a very deep level. We don't understand anything at a deep level. Look, when we're going
We
after
understand
Iran,
everything at a deep level. Al, thank you for the call. Wow. Let's go to Ron Grant, who joins us now at 580 KIDO.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
Hello, Ron.
Good morning, young man.
How do you follow that
doing?
guy? Wow.
That's what I was just asking myself. Whoa, what am I following Al for?
Yeah, boy. Well, we're going to talk about money, and Ron's going to tell you how to keep your money safe. Ron, what about percentages? And what about, things are going up, but, you and I, we've been around. We're no young whippers. Things can go down, and then you're worried about, do I have enough money? And that's where you come in.
Yeah. Well, back in 08 and 09 when the market tanked almost 50%, my clients and I, we got a zero. A lot of people, trillions of dollars were lost to 55 to 70-year-olds. The percent rule that the financial planners and stockbrokers like to talk about, Kevin, has been around about 30 years. And that's the 4% rule. And the problem is it's highly exposed to market volatility, number one. Number two, income is at risk during downturns. And number three, you must sell assets to generate income. Well, what if you had to sell short? Now you're losing more money. And what if you're not making 4% after you pay the asset under management and the fiduciary fees to the financial planners, the stockbrokers, and the 401k companies? My clients and I, we don't like that. We want to have a guaranteed lifetime income that we can't outlive. If we're married, when we pass away, our spouse gets that guaranteed lifetime income for their lives. And when they've passed away, whatever's left in the account goes to the beneficiaries. I coined a phrase over 17 years ago, mailbox money. I let my clients go to the mailbox and pick up a check for the rest of their natural life. And that's important.
Ron, how can people get a hold of you and figure this out, whether this is for them, they want to keep their money safe or not, sir?
Sure. Yeah, education is important. Knowledge is power. I've put together a great educational website that I can go on 24/7. That's safermoneyspecialist.com. But, let's have a phone conversation right here in the Treasure Valley about how you can have guaranteed income that you can't outlive. Zero stock market risk. But most importantly, Kevin, legacy protection for you and your family. 208-660-1372.
Ron Grant, Ronnie G in the house. We always appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate you. Have a good day.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And thank you all for joining us. Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So we have Al defending Plattner, I guess, or he wasn't, but defending the tattoo. We have everything on fire. And, oh, yes, we're back to bombing Iran. A lot going on today. Thank you for staying with us. Sean Hannity today at 1. Hannity will give you the sanity and a break from the insanity on 580. What does that have to do with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Not much, but we do love any talk of radio.
Broadway Bill Lee one of the greatest, and I'm going to use this term purposefully, one of the greatest top 40 jocks, that I ever heard. And one of the things that made a top 40 jock of that era so special, and I came up with this just now listening to what you were saying, was their ability to become one with the music. It's not just talking up an intro and hitting the post. It's rhythmic. It's different. The beginning of each song requires different pacing. It requires almost riding the beginning of that song, coming out of the end of another one or out of a jingle, riding it like you're riding a wave. It's a skill that not very many people have, but lots of people, including me, have aspired to.
There we have it, the legendary Jim Kerr, I believe, from Pittsburgh, legend there. Talking about what makes great radio personalities. Of course, those of you that grew up here, Big Jack Armstrong, Larry Lujak, who left the area, and, one of the greatest of all time. Big Jack, the greatest Idaho broadcaster ever. Loved this business. Did so much for the community. And again, I love it hearing the stories about wonderful radio personalities. I was talking to Mrs. Miller about this. And I don't know if she's listening right now, but she's in the car with our granddaughter, Charlie. And if they're listening, hello. If not, well, they're doing their own thing. However, the day, and this, what was life like for your grandparents? They didn't have phones. They had this thing called call waiting. And what is it? The community call where you put people on. But they always knew when to flip over when they were getting a suntan, because Big Jack would tell them. And that's the connection great local radio personalities have, at least in that era. And of course, that legacy continues with Idaho's first radio station, over 100 years of service. However, I always was amazed when she goes, oh yeah, he'd tell us to flip over, and we would. Wow, what power. If only the president or the governor had that type of power. But disc jockeys, so when I speak of disc jockeys, Jim Kerr talking about Broadway Bill, for me, there's a guy in Seattle who used to be all over Dancing Danny Wright, who was just phenomenal. These people, Karen Blake, all these people. Anyway, we could go on and on and on. Just a little break from the politics and just to honor the legacy that we're so privileged to be a part of today. Let's get you to work safely and on time at 580 KIDO. Dave Burnett is standing by. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin, from the Idaho Pizza Company studio. Traffic really in pretty good shape this morning, beginning to build in the usual hot spots as you're coming out of Canyon County into Ada County. Sun is up and shining. Grab those sunglasses if you're traveling eastbound on the freeway. Save money with Perfect Plumbing, Heating, and Air and get your annual AC tune-up for just $49. Call Perfect or schedule online at callperfectnow.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Oh, thank you for joining us. We'll continue the fire watch. We'll get your calls. Will we be able to afford a fire insurance? Will Kevin Miller get out of line without stumbling? 580 KIDO. Once again, a privilege to be with you. And certainly our prayers, and let's just say this, because we pray on the Kevin Miller program. We pray on this show. We pray to God. We pray to Jesus. God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit. And we say, thank you, Lord, for blessing us, even if we're going through challenging times. Here we are, the fire season rolling. It's only early July. And there are people that are worried, people that are scared, people that are fighting the fires and doing their very best. So thank you. The Claremont fire, now we're talking about possible containment. We have a report from our fire expert, Phil Hardy, basically saying the heat of the fire is now low, bordering very low. And if we get lucky today, good chance of putting it out soon. Of course, then again, we do have severe winds in the forecast that could allow the fire to make another run. But, here we have the our ability to try to probably manage these things, and it's easier said than done. I think a lot of people, people just want solutions. And if this was caused by fireworks, is the juice really worth the squeeze? And I know Lars Larson is going to say, well, Kevin Miller, we don't want the government to do this. We don't want really the government to do a lot of things. But now the government's at work. We're paying for this. We're going to pay for this in higher insurance costs. We're going to pay for this in everything. Will Idaho become unaffordable? You've got the, the Gem County fire, 1,000 acres. It's contained, but the damage has been done. You've got all these other raging out of control. I-84 reopening after a fire in Canyon County. Yeah, I mean, it's nice that we have these firefighters, but there are limits to what they're doing. Here we have fireworks sparking fires in Ontario. This is avoidable, I do believe. Maybe not, but I do believe it is avoidable. And we should do everything that we can to make sure that the wildlife is safe, that we're safe, that the air that we breathe is safe. Is that asking too much? No, of course not. Of course not. Well, where do we begin? Well, we've given you the local report. Now we've got Boise police investigating a homicide on the Greenbelt. That's never good. We have the president slamming everybody. We'll get to him. Locally, again, it's crime and fires, and of course, how to stay cool. Once again, big ups, as we used to say back in the day. Big ups to everyone who are fighting fires. Sun Valley going on right now. Two great stories on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. And if you ever say 4 and 3 and 2 and 1, Kevin Miller, I love the show. How can I help you? Just go to our website and read or just scroll my little jabroni articles. Not the other people, just the Kevin Miller ones, because we're evaluated on that. But, did you know the world's richest city is in Idaho right now? Because we have such a collection of wealth that we have just an amazing, amazing amount of money in Idaho right now. We break that down for you, and we tell you who's here and who isn't, whether it's Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Alex Karp. They're here, which is amazing. Maybe if Kevin Miller were a little more naive. That's hard to believe, Kevin Miller. Look, you and Al were talking about tattoos last hour. I get it. Maybe if Kevin Miller were a little younger, maybe if Kevin Miller didn't have his priorities in the right way, we would be in Sun Valley. And I understand this. This is perhaps a CNBC thing. This is perhaps an MSNBC thing, a Fox Business thing, where we have so many people in Idaho because they get to come out here to Idaho. Remember, it was on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com, where we showed you that the Manhattan Institute had a bunch of conservatives here. And by the way, the president's saying, breaking news right now, that we're going to possibly hit Iran tonight. We're going to go to that in a second here, but the president is in Turkey, as Jonathan Savage just said, and it's not looking good for the Iranians because he is very, very mad. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Do we have this here? Is the
ceasefire over? Is the ceasefire done? Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question. To me, I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people.
Now, that is from yesterday. Do we have this today, Sweet William? Can we go to this?
Iran, they've misbehaved for 47 years. They've killed our soldiers, they've killed our people, and they've killed a lot of people all over the Middle East and elsewhere. And the roadside bomb was their preferred, the preferred weapon was by Soleimani, the roadside bomb, where it would explode under a truck. We actually built trucks with floors, steel this thick. And then all they did was they made bigger bombs. And we have young guys around not walking around because they have no legs. But their legs were blown off, their arms were blown off, their face was blown off, and they live because of modern medicine. You can do anything, but they're living like in hell. Their whole life changed because of Iran. And that was 96% of the people that used that, they were made in Iran. And so we have a score to settle too.
Mr. President, you say that President Putin is ready to finish this war. What if he doesn't? Are you ready to put pressure on Russia? Are you ready to
Well, we
put
have
more
a lot of pressure.
sanctions?
We have a lot of pressure on President Putin. You know, I don't think he likes what's going on. I don't think he's thrilled with what's happening. There's a lot of pressure on President Putin to get it done. I think there's pressure on everybody to get that one done. A lot of pressure.
What's your security guarantee for Ukraine?
The guarantee?
Yes, security guarantee for
The
Ukraine.
security guarantee you're talking about? I mean, not that we want to do it. We'll do it to save lives. Look, Ukraine's very far away. We have an ocean separating us. What I'm doing is I'm trying to save lives. A lot of lives are being lost. I also think that it's a country with great potential. I think if this kind of brain power can go toward rebuilding the country instead of fighting a war, I think that country is going to do fantastically well. And likewise, Russia, look, they're devoting a lot of energy. Do you have a question for President Putin, please? Do you have a question for President Putin? Not Zelensky. Yeah, what would you like to ask him? Because I'm going to ask him that question.
I have a question. Last year you called Russia a paper tiger, referring that they're not doing that.
Who did I call?
I'm from Telegraph UA, Ukrainian media.
No, give us a question, not for Zelensky. Give us a question for Putin. Because I'm speaking to him today.
Yeah.
Why is it like a good, hard question?
When will he end this war?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever asked him that question. I'm going to ask him that question.
Mr. President, what's the status of a trade deal between the U.S. and Ukraine? What's the status?
By the way, I will tell you, though, he's going to tell you that he wants it ended as soon as he can end it. He wants it ended. He wants to end it soon. And I ask him, and we talk. I talk to him a lot. I talk to him a little bit less, but the relationship is very good. But I talk to President Putin a lot. He wants to end the war. A lot of people don't believe that.
What's the status of a trade deal between Ukraine? What are President Putin's conditions for ending the war? Do you know what?
Well, they were certain conditions that were a little bit different. I think they're changing. I think they're probably getting a little bit better toward some of the things that you'd like. It's been tougher in Russia. It's been a lot tougher than it was supposed to be. I mean, in all fairness, this was supposed to be this is a war that would have never happened if I were president. Would have never happened. You'd have a full country, I mean, just a shame that it happened. But no, this is something that I think Zelensky wants to do and Putin wants to do. They want to get it done. Ask the president that question. Ask him.
Пане президенте, ви знаєте, на яких зараз умовах Володимир Путін готовий завершувати війну в Україні? Чи ж вони змінилися?
No, I don't know what...
By the way, that's Zelensky. Now we've gone on to what's going on with President Trump, Zelensky, and it ain't looking good for the Iranians. You're listening to 580 KIDO with Kevin Miller in the morning.
And now I think he's losing initiative on the battlefield. I think his army, but that's why I think that because of technologies, because it's not the question now of number of people. Our heroic people are very important, but now it's not the question of only number of people. First of all, people and technologies, people with technologies. Now I think that we have better steps, technological steps further than Russia, maybe quicker. Because they produce a lot of different things which are tough, strong against us, but we are quicker. And that's why I think that now initiative moved to our hands. Not totally, but moved. We are trying to move this war to the sky from the battlefield. That's why we now begin to control the battlefield. This is very important. It's difficult when you have less people to move them back. But we found another way how to do it, to cut their logistic for their army. It's about weapon, petrol, diesel, without massive human losses. That is the difference between us, by the way. Russia is,
He's got a lot of support. I just left a room with, where they have, mostly European, Canada, but mostly European countries. And they have great support for Ukraine. And, really great support. One of the things you talk about questions for Putin, but one of the things that I talked to him about was, where would you want to meet? And he said, ideally in Moscow. I said, you're not going to meet in Moscow. It just doesn't work. You can't do that. But he'll meet, and Zelensky's going to meet, and something's going to happen that's going to be positive. And I hope it's going to happen soon, because they have to, number one, lives, but number two, building your country, because it's got a tremendous future, in my opinion. Yeah.
Where was it built, and when would that happen?
I don't know.
Mr. President,
President Putin said, I would love to meet in Moscow. And I said, I don't think, I have to put myself in this position. I don't know that he'd go to Moscow. Maybe he would. Would you go to Moscow?
It's difficult. There are a lot of Ukrainian drones.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's dangerous.
He doesn't want to be hit by a drone.
Europe.
No, it's hard. It's hard to go to Moscow.
Mr. President,
I thought I'd answer that question. I didn't want to ask him that question.
Mr. President, how to ensure that Ukraine will not be attacked again by Russia?
What about?
How to make sure that Ukraine will not be attacked by Russia again?
Look, you mean in the future?
Yes.
You mean after there's an agreement? Well, we're going to work on a security guarantee and Russia respects us a lot, and we're going to work on some kind of a security. If we can make the right deal, we'll help Europe. Europe is going to be watching it, but we're going to be helping them, and we'll work on some kind of a security package that will make sure. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that if we make a deal, Russia is going to be very happy, and they're going to get on with other things. They have, by the way, as a country too, they have tremendous potential. They have tremendous land, valuable land that they can do things with, and they have tremendous potential. But I don't think it's going to happen. I don't see, that question is, they're going to attack again. I don't see it at all. I think they've had it. This has been going on for almost 5 years, right?
Yeah.
Who would have thought? It's a tribute because it's a bigger country, strong country, and it's an amazing tribute. Anything else?
With the Patriot missiles, President Zelensky has said that Ukraine needs Patriot missiles now. Over 50 Ukrainians have died in recent airstrikes just in the last few days. So in addition to these production licenses, which will take time, would you consider providing any to Ukraine immediately?
We have Patriots, but we don't have that many. We need them for ourselves too, some, but I think they can produce them pretty quickly. Once we explain it, we'll bring the company here. They work with the company. They have a great ability to produce weapons, pretty complex weapons.
Are you will you go to Ukraine?
Do you have any deadline?
Will you go to Ukraine?
I would, yeah.
Do you have any deadline when you want to reach
I'd
it?
rather have the war be over.
When will it happen? Do you have any
I'm
deadline?
not sure Secret Service would be thrilled.
Are you
Putin doesn't stop war.
I think the people are incredible. And, like Kiev, it would be nice to get it before any more damage is done, to be honest. It's such a beautiful city, right? And, I would go to Ukraine at the right time.
Do you have any deadline when you want to reach a deal between Ukraine and Russia? Do you have any deadline in that regard?
No, I don't have a deadline. You can't have a deadline. It's it's too much going on. But I think you're going to have a deal. I think I've been very good. We had certain deals like Azerbaijan and some of the deals that we made, and they've been going on for 32 years. And they said it's an impossible thing to get them solved. Eight different deals. Even in the Congo, it was, think of it, you have the Congo and Rwanda. That was 14 million people dead, a lot of them with machetes. It's a horror. We got that one solved, or it flares up every once in a while, I must say. But we got deals done that weren't doable. But if you look at India and Pakistan, they were at it. We get that. We get them done, and when we get them done, I find that people are not anxious to go back into it. I think we'll have you once mentioned the word security guarantee in the Oval Office. So. And, I think they're going to need some kind of a security guarantee, but we're going to work with them. That's important. I think he thinks that's a very important thing.
The security guarantees are very important.
Well, and again, can you trust Putin? You can't trust Putin. You can't trust the Ayatollahs. You can't trust the loons, but you can trust us. We're not going anywhere. This is going on live in Turkey, from Turkey to Boise to Idaho to Homedale to our friend Rocky to everybody else. The president's saying he's going to Ukraine. He'd like to do it after the war. Zelensky and he taking questions. And the president's saying it ain't going to look good for the Iranians on 580 KIDO. Don't go anywhere. Back to the news conference.
Systems, it didn't work. We didn't have one plane shot down. We didn't have one. We had one helicopter operator who was incredible. He landed it perfectly, and his leg was almost blown off. And we gave him the Congressional Medal of Honor because very few people could have landed that. You land them with your feet, really, more than anything else. And he landed it. He was really in bad shape. And at the State of the Union, we gave him, he was a handsome guy, big handsome guy, but we gave him the Congressional Medal of Honor at the State of the Union. So, look, he wants to get it done, and we're going to get it done.
What's the status on a drone deal between Ukraine and the U.S.?
In what sense?
What's the status of a drone deal between Ukraine and the U.S.?
Well, we would buy their drones, and we make drones. We make great drones, but they have an ability to make a lot of them, which is, right, Marco, amazing that in a war situation, they make them. They make them in basements. They make them wherever the hell you have a little shelter, even if you don't have shelter, I suspect, right? It's an amazing ability. Very few. Well, that's why I say with the Patriots, they would be able to do it. Most countries would not be able. They don't have the talent. You have very talented people. So, I think we're going to make that deal.
Not good news for Putin.
If we made that deal, we'd have great protection. I love the protection. Think if you had a lot of Patriots, you'd never be hit. As an example, in Kiev, where they get hit with missiles, those missiles, like what I said about the Abraham Lincoln, the missiles would be shot down. Yeah. So, and I think you start making them pretty quickly. Right? You like the idea?
No, it's a great idea.
I think everybody likes that one.
As part of security guarantees, are you ready to close the skies in case Russia attacks again?
Close what?
To close the skies over Ukraine in case Russia...
Close the skies.
It's been...
As a part of security guarantees, are you ready to impose a no-fly...
If it's necessary, yeah. I mean, look, I tell you, when we have a deal, we're going to have a deal. Security guarantee or no security guarantee. If we have a deal, we're going to have a deal. We're not going to have to worry about what you're saying. We're going to have a deal. I think if we come to a solution, which I think we will, we're going to have a deal. Now, we want to make sure the deal sticks. Some people don't think it will. I think it will. I'm sure it will. I'm not sure it will with Iran. If we make a deal with Iran, I'm not sure that will stick.
May I ask you, what does your...
Because I found them to be very dishonorable people. Yeah.
You're supposed to reimpose the naval
I don't find that with him. And I mean, I don't want to upset him, but everything I've done with President Putin has been okay. It's been good. He's going to say, but I would expect you to say that, but that's good. I don't think anything's going to be broken. And we're going to do a security guarantee in case it is. But with Iran, 47 years, this should have been done by another president a long time ago, or somebody else, another country. But they got stronger and stronger, and now they're weak.
Are you going to reimpose the naval blockade on Iranian ports?
Don't forget, we knocked out 159 ships in 1 week. That's good even for you, right? 159. Their entire navy is at the bottom of the sea. And now they have little boats, little tiny boats that go around. And we knocked about 28 of them out last night with the same weapon we use for the drug people. You know, drugs are down, by the way, drugs by sea are down 97%, meaning nobody wants to get into those boats and take drugs into it. They're down 97%. And we're using the same thing for the mine boats. You know, they like to drop mines in. And we hit a lot of them last night, like 28. We knocked out 28 boats last night, little ones. That's all they have is little ones.
Are you going to try to take out more tonight?
Oh, my gosh.
Will we go tonight? You know, normally I wouldn't tell you. But you know what? There's not a thing they can do about it. So the answer is probably.
President Trump.
Terrible military strategy. He just said he's going tonight. Yeah, they deserve it.
President Trump, what is the effectiveness of last night's attack? What message does that send to what's left of the Iranian?
Which attack are you talking about?
The attack that you guys had on Iran last night. The strikes last night?
Oh, I think it has a tremendous impact. Well, first of all, we took out additional, you know, they were trying to rebuild their radar, and they had about 60% built. Now they have to start all over again. Look, we're not attacking at the highest level. The highest level of the bridges, which we can knock down. I would say in one day we knocked down every single bridge in Iran. There's not a thing they can do about it. Their electric manufacturing facilities, right? Their electric plants where they make their electricity there. We will, if we have to, we'll take them out. I don't want to do that, but if we have to, we'll take them out. They have desalinization plants. We'll take them out if we have to. I hate to do that. That's probably the one I would like not to do least. We attacked Cargill Island last night. We knocked out a piece. I said, don't touch the oil, because maybe we'll take over Cargill Island. You know, we may take over Cargill Island. There's not a thing they can do about it. But I said, don't hit the pipes. Just hit everything else. And they hit it. They may hit it again tonight. So, you know, as for your question.
Okay, quick break here. More with the president on 580 KIDO.
Normally I'm not that way, but they really deserve it because they're saying they want to make a deal, but they don't. You know, they asked for a timeout. They wanted to go to the funeral of Khomeini, and I said, give it to them. And they start shooting missiles. I mean, it was a crazy thing. Now, we did kill him, you know, so I guess you have to look at it that way, but the funeral took place, and they wanted to have a period of time, and they also asked that we not kill them. And we said, we're not going to kill you. They were worried we'd kill them during the funeral. I mean, if you can believe it, what a crazy... Did you ever think I'd be doing this for a living, Marco? Did anybody ever think I'm doing... Maybe Pete, but this wasn't supposed to be for me. Pete loved this stuff from day one. But they said to us, please don't kill us during the funeral. I said, I won't. And we didn't do anything. In fact, we made it safe for them, actually. And what happens? They try and knock out two ships, the Saudi and I guess Kuwait, right? Kuwaiti? Oh, no, Qatari. In addition, really three.
Three, yes, sir.
So you had three of them. And they're just, I don't know. I just don't know with them. A lot of people say they're very dishonorable people, and they can't keep a deal, so we'll see. Now, as to whether or not Steve Witkoff, Jared, and JD and everybody working on that will talk, I guess they can talk, but I'm not seeing it with them, with the people. My whole life is deals. I don't see it. I don't see it with them. And there may be a big attack, and it'll knock out a lot of stuff. We don't knock out nothing. We knock out a lot. Pete, do you want to tell them about last night?
Yes, sir. Last night, as you said, a lot of small craft that they were trying to harass shipping with, so that was a big part of what we targeted. Underground facilities where they were storing drones or missiles, coastal defense sites, radar sites, surveillance sites, anything used to harass shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. So anything they thought they had rebuilt or capability they were using was a target last night. And tonight, if we need to, on your order, Mr. President, we will hit even more and even deeper, because that's the consequence.
And we may put down the blockade. We may put it back, the blockade. and it'll only be a blockade for Iran. Anybody else can have whatever they want. Now, of course, they'll drop some mines if they can, if they can do it. But it's hard because we're taking out those little boats now with the same weapon we used to take out the drug lords and the boats coming in by sea. Think of it, 97%. For years, we had fentanyl and all the other drugs coming in from different countries, including Venezuela. And it was, they'd arrest them, they'd bring them to a court, they'd be released, and they'd be back on another boat the next. 97%. What was done in the past had no impact. 97% drugs down coming in by sea. And now we're going to start doing it by land. The land is easy when we had to do sea first. And nobody, I think the 3% of the people that still do that, I think they're the bravest people in the world. We should probably give them a medal for bravery. Because and we're using the same exact missile to take out the mine drop. They call them mine droppers. But we have mine sweepers. And one of the things that came up today is that European nations, the NATO group, they're sending mine sweepers. We don't need them now. We have pretty much the mines that lit up. But they'll probably drop some more. They're evil people. They're sick people. They're mentally disturbed people. And it should have been done 47 years ago. Thank you, everybody.
And there we have it, the President of the United States. Breaking news, possible Patriot missiles to Ukraine and the end of the Iranian regime. Very candid, the President, very, very candid, talking about this. We'll take a little time to digest this. Get your calls at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And the President's going to talk a little bit more about this. Yesterday, he was meeting with Bloomberg's Oliver Cook. We'll give you that as well, because there were a lot of things that the President just went over yesterday and today. And breaking news, the President, quote, "We might hit Iran hard tonight again and again and again." We'll get your reaction next. 580-KIDO traffic. Dave Burnett is standing by with you. It ain't looking good for the Iranians. He's fed up with them. They're scum. We'll hear more from the President coming up. The Claremont fire continues. Now we hear the containment date might be July 12th. Human caused. Was it fireworks? And why, oh why, are we always going to be perpetually victims of the fires? A lot going on today. And, of course, we'll take your calls about the issues that matter to you at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I do want to remind you, of course, we are rolling until Clay and Buck, and obviously they'll have much more on this. I go back to the President just not playing around here, and he's using this event in Turkey to pretty much get information out that, sadly, he can't get out here in America.
Over. Is the ceasefire done? Is the MOU dead?
It's a very interesting question.
Now, remember, this is from yesterday.
I think it's over. I don't want to deal with them anymore. They're scum. You know what scum is? They're scum. They're sick people. They're led by sick people. And they're vicious, violent people. And if
let's hope not.
And they'd use it. As far as I'm concerned, it's over. I'll speak to our negotiators. They want to negotiate. They're good people. Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner. But they have to come back to me. As far as I'm concerned, it's just a waste of time dealing with them. They're liars. We make a deal. And if I make a deal with him, we have a deal, and it goes out.
So, again, this is from yesterday where the President of the United States was talking. And the President's saying, look, you make a deal with someone, you make a deal. We all know the Iranians are liars. We all know the Iranians are liars. By the way, if you're watching Agency on Paramount, a very insightful fictional look at the Iranian National, Revolutionary Guard. Thank you, Sweet William, not National Guard, Iranian Revolutionary Guard. We have Tehran, which, again, the females are leads in this. I got to go. I'm a product of my generation. Got to be a guy. Got to be a guy. Anyway, Lioness, all these things. Somebody was telling me how great that was. I go, yeah, but you replaced Jack Bauer with females. It's great if you're a female, but if you're a Jack Bauer guy, if you're a guy, you don't want to transition. You want to have the male lead be heroic and not be passive, be the alpha, which is the America that most of us grew up on, and I believe that should grow up on, and that should be the way. Anyway, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, We heard from the president just moments ago live. This is from yesterday, because yesterday he basically said the same thing. And he's really, because the media in this country says it's Trump's unnecessary war, it's Trump's this, it's Trump's that. However, the president wanted to avoid this. The president was saying, look, man, we want a deal. We're giving you a ton of money. And you can live wild and free. You can do whatever you want to your people. We're out. And yet, the Iranians are doing what the Iranians do.
Talks. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapon. We make a deal. They go outside, talk to the press. They say, we never even talked about it. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo. As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
Ollie, these are very...
There you have it. They're cuckoo. They're over. It's done. We'll play that again and again and again. The president telling it like it is. He's not playing around. By the way, the president continuing talking about NATO. They're not a good partner. They're this, they're that. At 580-5436-580-KIDO. You know, before, presidents would just take this, and we would just sit back and go, well, not so much anymore.
And I want to thank Mark. He's been a great Secretary General of NATO. I'm not happy with NATO because of what they did with Greenland. And I'm not happy with NATO because of the fact that they didn't want to help us with the number one state sponsor of terror, that's Iran. They were unwilling to help us. Now, in all fairness, I didn't speak to Mark about it. I think if I did, it might have been different, but we didn't need help. But I was really testing. I wanted to see whether or not they'd be there. And the answer is they were. I spoke to Germany, I spoke to France, spoke to UK, spoke to Italy, I didn't speak to Spain. Spain is a wasted cause. We don't want to do any trade business with Spain anymore, by the way. I'd like you to cut it off. Spain is a terrible partner in NATO. They don't participate. They don't pay. I don't want anything to do with Spain. Cut off all trade with Spain, please, including visits. Okay, we don't want anything to do. Watch them come running back. Oh, they'll come running back. They treat this man terribly. And this man's a good man, too. Great man. They're lucky they have him. But Spain doesn't agree to anything. And you shouldn't carry him. I mean, you sort of automatically carry because you're protecting an area. So they're there. So they probably figure they have to protect us, right? But we don't have to. We don't have to trade with them. I don't want to do any more trade with them. All right? Yes, sir. Take it immediately. Don't even talk to them. They're hopeless. Bad people because, you know, they have everybody else going and paying and working. And Spain, in particular Spain, there are a couple of others, but in particular Spain, they're open about it. They're hostile about it. And let's see how hostile they remain when they call up and they, please, we want to trade with you, sir. We want to trade with you, sir. They make so much money with us, and we're going to see that they make a lot less. I want no business with them.
Wow. The President of the United States laying the smackdown. That was from yesterday. And he's not saying it in Poughkeepsie. He's calling them out right here. He's calling them out in America. And he's saying, hey, man, you don't help us. We make sure that you and everyone else is safe and secure. And this is how you treat us? This is how you treat the greatest country the world has ever known? And we guarantee your safety and security? Now the president's saying that he's going to allow the Ukrainians to make Patriot missiles? That might be a tough one. But our top story, if you're just tuning in, at 580-KIDO, the president's saying it ain't looking good for the Iranians tonight.
Trump, sir. President Trump. With the Iran ceasefire possibly over, can we expect the resumption of full-scale hostilities?
They are behaving very badly, as they have for 47 years. And, we hit them hard last night after they launched. They launched a couple of, you don't have to know about this, you got stuff on your mind, but they launched a couple of drones and one rocket, one missile, and at ships, because they were in the strait, which they have every right to be. And so we hit them very hard last night, very, very hard. Probably hit them hard again tonight. I'll give them a little warning, we're going to hit them hard tonight. But we'll see how it all works out. No, I'm not happy with them. It's like, for instance, we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about the denuclearization of Iran, because that's what the war is. It's not a war. It's really the denuclearization of Iran. And we'll have a meeting and we'll talk about just that. Just because my whole thing is not about regime change. It's not about, although I think it's regime change when you knock out the first group, the second group, and now you're I think that's maybe the ultimate regime change. But that's not what it's about. It's about, we don't want them to have nuclear weapons, and it's denuking or denuclearization. And I think we've made a lot of progress. And they'll get out of the room. We'll talk about it like we're here. They'll agree on everything, and then they'll go and have a news conference and say we never even talked about it. They're cuckoo. There's something wrong with these people. And for 47 years, they've been the bully of the Middle East, and they're not the bully anymore. They're not the bully anymore. And all we want, it's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's what I'm there for.
President Trump, sir. President Trump.
If they did, they'd use it, and we're not going to let that
President
happen.
Trump.
580-5436-580-KIDO. Much more going on next on Idaho's Dog Station, 580-KIDO. Look, it's been a while since we played this. This was a clip that we played during the campaign, but we need a little levity.
And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Yeah, do you think the mullahs really respect him when he says...
And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Okay, at 580-KIDO, would you say this?
And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Yeah. Cringy. Even more cringy than Joe Biden? Elizabeth Warren talking about a manly man. What type of man that really warms her heart at night?
I am here because Washington needs fighters, and Graham Plattner is the fighter we need.
Uh-oh. Greg Ferraro.
You bet. I said to myself, that's my kind of man.
Hey, baby. We apologize for saying that.
Because that is a man who not only has the values, but a man who believes in accountability.
That's not going to air well, and that's not going to age well. Oh, my goodness. More on her in a minute. I mean, which is the worst? Joe Biden and his hairy legs, or Elizabeth Warren talking about, I like men? Breaking news on the Elizabeth Warren front. Don't read into that. Boom, boom, boom. All right, let's continue on. The Team 250 celebration continues this week at Team Mazda in the Pre-Owned Superstore. What's Team 250? It's your chance to drive a brand new Mazda or a better pre-owned vehicle with payments right around $250 a month. Why? Because they love America. They're celebrating America 250. And here's a great example. Right now, you can lease a new 2026 Mazda 3 for just $250 a month with $3,335 cash or trade down. And because Team gives you up to 130% of book value for your trade, getting to that $250 payment is easier than you think. Go Team 250. Shopping pre-owned instead, Aaron and Joel will help you find a quality used car, truck, SUV with payments that's right around $250 a month, which is the sweet spot, right? And no matter what you buy or lease, Team will include a $250 gas card with your purchase. So this month, it's all about Team 250. That's Team 250. $250 payments, a $250 gas card, and up to 130% of book value for your trade. Get pre-approved today at GoTeamCredit.com. That's GoTeamCredit.com. There's no impact on your credit score, and you'll instantly see your buying power. Celebrate Team 250 all month long at Team Mazda in the pre-owned superstore on the Boulevard or online at GoTeamMazda.com. That is GoTeamMazda.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. Oh, yes, Sun Valley going crazy. Everybody going crazy. What about traffic? Is traffic going crazy? Let's find out now. 580 KIDO traffic. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Kevin. From the Idaho Pizza Company studio, traffic on the freeway heavy and steady crossing the county line and into Ada County. Have an accident working Highway 2026 and Smead Parkway in Caldwell. Vinson Lumber. They're your Cedar Factory outlet. They'll save you up to 70% off the big box stores. Vinson Lumber now open in Cuna, online at vinsonlumber.com. I'm Dave Burnett. That's your traffic now on KIDO.
Back at it, Kevin Mill in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers here. We've got him. The president's saying he's going to hit Iran tough tonight. He's done playing with the mullahs. Fire watch continuing. Coming up next hour, Jeff Manasso and our friend Philip Hardy will join us. Phil Hardy, you remember him. He's going to talk about what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong in fighting fires in Idaho. By the way, the Moore Fire out in Cuna or near Cuna or wherever you want to say, 1,000 acres. The Claremont Fire, if the winds don't pick up, containment could be July 12th. Thank you to everyone that is fighting those fires, and we pray that we do not lose any homes or any other institutions or wildlife due to these fires. Are they preventable? We'll talk to Phil Hardy coming up. A lot going on today. Do want to thank our sponsor of this portion of the program, Peak Health Idaho. They do such a good job again and again and again. Peak Health Idaho. If you're looking to invest in yourself, if you're looking to make a difference, why not? Why not go see our friend Dr. Eric Lyle? I've lost 130 pounds, and that was before Peak. I've gone through every test to determine if I have any Greg Ferrer uh-ohs in my blood, in my body, and now we're going to lose the weight the healthy way. We'll explain that next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Are hitting Iran right now as we speak. The president's saying he's going to make them feel the pain, and we'll have more on that coming up. Keep it here for breaking news as it happens. 580 KIDO. Out to Jeff Manasso in Chicago, Fox News Radio's man of the world, man of autos, man of a lot of things. Jeff, good morning.
Hey, Kevin, good morning.
Great to have you with us. I love talking vehicles with you, and this was a big move announced yesterday, and you've got more in-depth coverage on this, considering a big move by Toyota and Texas.
Yeah, well, Toyota North America said in November that it planned to invest as much as $10 billion in the U.S. over the next 5 years, and it's now making good on that announcement as it shifts its mid-size production of its mid-size Tacoma pickup from Mexico to Texas. So they're bringing manufacturing to the U.S. Toyota saying it's investing about $3.6 billion to expand its manufacturing campus in San Antonio, increasing the plant size by about 2.5 million square feet. So a huge factory. So it can add a second vehicle assembly line. And it vows to increase the plant's annual production capacity by about 150,000 units. And so lots of trucks going to be rolling off the line. It also builds the Toyota Tundra there, as well as the Sequoia SUV. And in all, it's creating 2,000 new jobs in San Antonio with the move of the Tacoma pickup from Mexico to the U.S. And of course, even local Democrats and local and state Democrats, along with Republicans, are lauding this move. It's about job creation. It's about economic boost. President Trump responding from Turkey yesterday, calling it amazing, and saying that this is what tariffs do if properly used.
Well, and we're starting to see this pay off with these car manufacturers deciding to come back to America, creating American jobs. And I hate to put you on the spot. You're going to, dude, I do 1,000 of these. And I got this goof in Idaho. But at 580 KIDO, Jeff Bonasso, what would be what do you think is the car company right now that is best positioned for the long term, for the future? Is it Toyota?
It's Toyota, 100%. Because remember, Toyota is I think it's like the lone company that said, you know what, Biden administration, we're not playing your EV game, your EV mandate game. Never went along with it, and they got a lot of heat because of it. But they didn't see it. I mean, despite the mandates, and you saw other car companies just going all in, spending billions and billions of dollars on EVs, EV production, EV technology. Toyota's like, no, we're not doing it, because plain and simple, they didn't see the demand, and they were right. The demand was not there. And so they focused more on the hybrids. And what are other car companies doing now? First of all, they're writing off billions and billions of dollars in losses, and they're now shifting to hybrids. So, yeah, Toyota, the winner.
Yeah. And, in the old days, Toyotas used to be very affordable. But, the big market now is not only new Toyotas, but used Toyotas. People call them the most expensive pre-owned cars ever, the Toyota.
I just traded in my 2015, my 2012 Toyota Highlander, and got an F-150 pickup. And the dealer's like, "Are you sure you want to get rid of that? That thing's got a 400,000 mile motor." And so I thought twice about it, but they last. At least I shouldn't be doing a car commercial, but they do last. And so you want to get your money out of a vehicle, right? And so you're looking for companies like that with a history. Who knows about the new cars? We'll see. But it's car prices have almost doubled, and you wonder, like, what's going to give? At what point do we get back to normal prices? Is this the new normal? Well, I think so. But then you've got China knocking down the door of every other nation with their EVs that are, by the way, they're good. They're nice looking. They have lots of options. They would cost around $60,000 a year. They cost about $20,000. And so that's why Europe is the Chinese EVs' second largest market, behind China. Because of that. And so now you've got Volkswagen Group and other car companies in Europe that you're starting to see mass layoffs because they're not building as many anymore. Of course, the tariffs don't help, but they do help manufacturing jobs here in the U.S.
Yeah, I guess we could tell Toyota stories this morning. I have my beloved 07 Camry. We turned 20 this year, and I've kept it over 200,000 miles on it. And it's fascinating to me the value you get from a lot of vehicles. But it appears to be, without doing an endorsement for Toyota, it is Toyota's moment. And then, as you've outlined, we have the Chinese threat as well. What about the American manufacturers, Jeff? What's their vibe, their vision?
Well, look, I mean, they're expanding U.S. investments here to the U.S., out of Canada, out of Mexico. But all the car companies still have their tentacles in Canada and in Mexico. And so you wonder, when the next administration comes in that may not be behind the combustion engines, then what? And so it's kind of been a yo-yo type of situation for these car companies. But for now, Ford, GM, Stellantis, they're expanding production of vehicles here in stateside because it makes financial sense. They don't want to have to pay those tariffs, but at the same time, they're doing they're doing happy dances at plants across the Rust Belt and other parts of the country because they're expanding jobs as well, and it's an economic boost for communities across the country. And really, that's what the administration has said that the tariffs are all about. It's about bringing jobs back to the U.S. And it's about getting those factories across the country that have been abandoned over the last 4 or 5 decades. It's about getting those things humming again and building up communities. And so it's a huge move for Toyota. To invest that kind of capital in American manufacturing. Honda is also reportedly shifting its production of its Civic hybrid from Mexico to Indiana. Some Jeep production is moving from Canada to the U.S. General Motors expanding its U.S. investment. Ford expanding its U.S. investment. So, yeah.
Without doing a car company commercial, it seems like the official vehicle here in Idaho, two of them, it's either a Subaru or a Ford or a pickup. But obviously, Ford F-150s, just like the Silverado, just like the Dodge Ram, very iconic. From your reporter's perspective, what has been your impressions of it so far?
Impressions of what? My F-150?
Yes.
Love it. I absolutely love it. I do miss our Highlander. It was the best car we've ever had. My wife and I, our family, we got it when our kids were babies, and put a lot of miles on it. But it was just time. It was time to do something else. But I absolutely love it. I got it right before gas prices started shooting up. So I don't love that.
Right.
But I do. But yeah, I absolutely love it. It's awesome. We just took a trip down to Cincinnati for a baseball tournament with my son, my family, about a week ago, and it's fantastic.
As are you, Jeff Manasso. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you. More coming up next. 580 KIDO. It was a Gem State success story. I can go on and on, talking about his accolades. Just happy to have him with us. Our fire expert, a man that continues to serve America in so many ways and has a great sense of humor. Good morning, Phil.
Good morning, Kevin. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Well, it's I don't know if this is early for fire season, but fire season is upon us with the Claremont fire here in the Treasure Valley. And once again, we've got air issues, safety issues, insurance issues. Phil, as someone who deals with this all the time, where should we begin?
Yeah, it's sort of difficult. Boise City area has been fairly lucky with wildfire. I believe there was one, I guess it must have been like almost 8, maybe 10 years ago. Do you remember that one that was in the Boise foothills, and some kids let off some fireworks by Table Rock? But, it's been sort of lucky in that neighborhood. This one, not so lucky, but, at the end of the day, I think this fire has pretty much done what it's going to do. But there was some, there was some luck involved here, some skill and some luck involved. But we can get into those details if you'd like.
Well, for people that aren't familiar with that, it looked really like Dante's Inferno with Table Rock and everything on fire. Those people were prosecuted, but the visual images of that were startling. And, you go back to that again and again, fireworks, human-caused things. Phil, is this ever preventable, or is this just something we're going to have to live with, sir?
Well, human cause is a very broad term now. Human cause can be some sort of, power line that drops, through old age or through something else. That's a human caused fire. You could have someone in the foothills who's cutting pipe, that's human caused. They're not intentional, but then there are intentional or just completely stupid incidences. Fireworks is completely stupid, but you could have people dragging chains or a catalytic converter pull over, and heat some tall grass. The problems that we have in the valley, or the problems that we have throughout the West, once you get, right outside of Boise in the north and the northeast of it, you're into some open country almost immediately. And the grass there grows, and if there's nothing to cut it, if there's no, goats or sheep or, anything to cut it, it's eventually going to be just fuel. And the more humans interface with these lands, the greater the risk there is to wildfire. So the short answer is no. But the better answer is using better tools to detect these fires pretty quickly. If they're lightning caused fires are really the biggest problem because, they happen in remote areas. There's no one necessarily there to see it. And no one's going to call it in, right? So if no one's there to call it in, especially if you actually set the fire, you have a responsibility to call it in, right? But if there's no one there to call it in, you need really new technologies, which we do have now over the last 3 to 5 years. We have satellites in space. We have cameras that are, really beyond high tech for what we think of as a normal camera that, Kodak made 150 years ago. And they're all attached to AI to determine whether or not it's, someone just burning some leaves in his backyard or this is a legitimate wildfire, right? So we have these new tools. Idaho is starting to use them. It's actually at the front end of some of these things. And, you have to be able to detect them sooner to put them out faster.
Well, and again, we take a look at this and we just kind of sit back and go, well, the cost of everything is going up. Insurance now, fire protection, fire safety. Before we get to, I guess, the macro, let's go to the micro. How do you see this playing out? And you did say we may have gotten lucky.
Well, and I sent you before the show, some pictures of what this fire looks like from space. There's a company called Aurora Tech that has 19 satellites in orbit just to detect fire. And so I can look at basically any fire on Earth by opening up my iPhone, and I can see when it starts. I can see how hot it burns. And in this particular fire, I was able to open it up pretty early and see that it was burning toward the northeast. Because that was the prevailing wind direction at the moment. And of course, because when you go to stop a fire using aircraft, which obviously I represent a lot of companies that do this, you want to create flanks, to prevent it from, if the wind shifts or whatever, so that you drop retardant so it can't go toward, Boise City. It couldn't go toward highlands like Crane Creek, or it couldn't go toward Harris Ranch or foothills east of the neighborhoods where people live. And people are spreading out further, right? And you're getting out into this area where it's tougher to protect. But, if the wind had been blowing southwest, at a good clip, it could have been a really touchy, a touch and go situation for a lot of homes in the Highlands. So, there's a bit of luck, but you just have to deploy, firefighters and aircraft as quickly as possible.
So how does that work when you deploy? I mean, is this like a virtual Air Force or a literal Air Force, sir?
Yeah, it kind of is, right? So a lot of this is generated out of Boise and for the country, right? Which is not a lot of people understand that. But, you'll have a fire. I'll try to do this as briefly as possible. It's detected. Someone has gone and looked at it and said, holy, yep, that's a fire, right? Let's go do something. And someone on the ground is appointed to say, we need this helicopter. We need this small airplane. We need something we can get to this pretty quickly, and stomp it out when it's an acre or 2 acres in size, less than 10 acres. And if you don't do that, then you've got to call in, 4 or 5 or 6 of these, quite large airplanes, which we call large air tankers or very large air tankers, including a DC-10, which the DC-10 made several passes over this fire, which is a pretty cool thing to see. With these giant planes flying at extremely low altitude. We're talking about 200-300 feet above the ground, and then releasing all of their retardants in a line. And I'm sure many people in Boise got to see that on this particular fire. I've had many friends who still live there, sending me pictures of airplanes, and they're saying, "Is this one of yours?" "Yes, that's one of ours." But this all has to be directed by someone called an incident commander on the ground as a firefighter. And they try to do this as quickly and smartly as possible. You've got some very experienced people doing this, obviously. But, this fire so far looks like it's about 8,500 acres, which is not a small fire. And especially for the proximity to Boise, could have had, negative results. But let me also add, it was largely and is a grass fire, right? Grass fires tend to run, and they don't necessarily do a lot of damage. But if this fire runs up, into the timberline and gets into the timberline, then you can have a much bigger problem. And I think they pretty well prevented that, though it may have gotten into some of the timber.
Our great friend Phil Hardy joining us, Kevin Mill in the Morning, KIDO Talk Radio. So, Phil, you've learned so much about this industry, and I love your adventures in Montana and Senator Sheehy and everything else that you've accomplished. What have you learned that can help us? And obviously, Idaho and California, you cover this all the time. You've been doing this for years. So what have you learned as far as the challenges in the West that maybe many newcomers don't know what they're expecting or what they'll face?
Yeah, I think that everyone who has a home, who lives close by to any of these places, as I did, I lived in Foothills East, you really need to learn up on something called having your house be fire wise. And essentially that means, I kid you not, Kevin, when I bought my house up in the Foothills, there were trees like growing into my garage, like pressing into it. Pine trees, there was like a foot of needles on my garage. No one had lived in the house for a couple of years. And it took 2 years to get rid of like 80 giant Ace Hardware bags of all of the fuel that was on or around my house. And I had to take down about 12 trees, still have plenty of coverage. But you've got to make sure that your house that these things aren't touching your house, or trees aren't overhanging your house. And they're trying to help people understand you have to have like 100 feet of distance between your house and some really big trees and foliage. And the worst thing that people do is let shrubs grow like right under their windows, right next to their house. And that's what we're brought up. That's normal, right? And there were people who had cedar shingle roofs on my street. That's just pure fuel, and it was old. Those shingles were like 40 years old. You've got to have fire resistant shingles. You got to have your, keep your property clean of pine needles, which, obviously pine is everywhere in Idaho, and, keep your trees trimmed back. Otherwise, you're giving yourself almost no chance of having your house survive.
Our great friend Phil Hardy joining us. Okay, Phil, so tell me about the Montana people. I've never been to Montana, probably will never go to Montana, but I've covered your adventures very well on just what they're doing as opposed to what we're doing here. And I guess that obviously they have more greater challenges because they have more wilderness.
Yeah, Montana is for everyone in Idaho, most Idahoans who spend some time in Montana, Idaho is completely like a city compared to Montana. Montana is just really empty. And they have had their fair share of like somewhat being ignored by the feds and having to deal with fire on their own. And this brings us to, Senator Sheehy is a good friend of mine. He was a former client with Bridger Aerospace. He has a company that has water tankers that carry water to put out fire rather than retardants. Which is a better tool, right? Water, if you can get enough of it early, is how you put out a fire. If it becomes too big, then water becomes, just not really very usable. But he understood what to do, and he got himself elected to the Senate and became very close to President Trump, and really has set about redoing how we fight fire in this country. And we now have, which we never had before, we now have the United States Wildland Fire Service. We never had a fire department as a country up until like this year, late last year, which is mind-boggling. But we never had these fire problems, and we do now. And the Forest Service, was made up of people who wanted to be people who like graded trails and took care of people who wanted to be in the great outdoors. And then like 65% of their budget was for like fighting fire. And, this was not their intended purpose. So now we've created the United States Wildland Fire Service. Really, that's the credit to President Trump and to, his advisors, including Senator Sheehy. I think that we'll start getting a grip on these things when we just treat this problem for what it is. These are fires, right? We need professionalized corps of special forces of firefighters under one chain of command to deal with these fires. And we do have that now. It's the first time we've had it. It'll take a few years to build out, but there are already 6,000 people on this agency, and I think things will improve. And again, I can't give enough credit to the president and, Senator Sheehy. And, obviously no one in this country will give President Trump credit for this, for 50 years, but if we turn the corner, it's definitely because of him.
What's the mood like in D.C.?
Oh, well, it's recess at the moment, so, there's not a lot going on, but there's paralysis as usual. It's the typical getting ready for the election cycle. Not sure how much more we're going to get done. The Democrats have their problems. The Republicans have their problems. Mitch McConnell, where is he? Is he okay? Who's going to win the Senate race in Maine? Everything's so gerrymandered now. Is the House going to flip? The Senate's definitely not going to flip. We're getting to that part of the year. I know it's July, but people are way thinking about November at this point. Totally consumed with November.
Indeed, our great friend Phil Hardy joining us. Kevin Mill in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. What about our crew? I mean, you've worked with them from your time in Idaho. How are they doing when it comes to fighting fires? Obviously, they're very aware of it.
Sure, and we have a lot of good people. I think, as we mentioned last time we talked about, the head of the Western Fire Chiefs Association, my good friend Mark Niemeyer, was the former Boise City fire chief, and he's a former Middleton fire chief. He understands how fire interacts with cities and, what we have in Idaho, which, again, as I said, anyone who's driven north of Idaho, on 55 for 30 minutes or less, sees that it just turns into a very rural, empty sort of state where fire can spread unabated. So they're very familiar with what needs to be done on a national level. Boise really is a really very good example of not a small city that's on the edge of a lot of emptiness on three sides. And fire can spread from any of those three sides into the city if left unattended. So, people are learning, but it's nowhere near as bad as California. California's got a lot more to deal with than Idaho, but I think you've just got people with more common sense dealing with the problem in Idaho than you do in California.
Our great friend Phil Hardy joining us. Anything else that you would like to share with us today? We appreciate you coming on such short notice, sir.
Kevin, I'm always happy to join you, and I want to thank you and, say hi to all my friends back in D.C. My phone will always go off when I do a segment on your show, and that makes me pretty happy.
Appreciate you, and we'll try to get you on tomorrow. Fire season, a busy time for you.
Absolutely, very busy time, but happy to do it.
Thank you, Phil. Take care, sir.
Take care, Kevin.
Our great friend Phil Hardy joining us, talking about fire protection, fire safety, and how to deal with fires. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Phone number's here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We are awaiting the president. He's going to speak again, again and again and again, concerning the attack on Iran that's going to happen. Before that, though, let's get our man in. Ron Grant joins us.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
And good morning, Ron.
Good morning, buddy. How you doing today?
I am living the dream. Let's talk about money, Ron. How do we protect our money when it comes to, something that is foreseeable or unforeseeable, like what happened in 2008, 2009, sir?
It's important, Kevin. Knowledge is power, and that's what I give my clients, is the knowledge to make sure they keep their money 100% safe, where they can't lose the principal. They can't lose any gains that they've already earned. But most importantly, we get a lifetime income that we can't outlive. Just putting a pile of money in a 401k or an IRA is not a retirement plan. It's not. My clients and I sleep at night knowing that we have a lifetime income that we can't outlive. And if we're married, when one spouse passes, the other spouse gets that income for the rest of their life. And then when they pass, whatever's left goes to the beneficiaries. It's so important, Kevin, in these times to make sure that your money is 100% protected. But more importantly, you have a lifetime income to take care of you and your family on.
Well, Ron, is that easier said than done? And how does that work? How does that happen, sir?
Well, we get to participate in some of the upside of Wall Street, Kevin, but never the downside. And every year that there's a gain, we lock it and we go one way, and that's up. When we turn the income on, the income's based on our age and the account value. And we can turn that income on for the rest of our natural life. I coined a phrase many years ago, mailbox money. My clients and I get to go to our mailbox and pick up a check for the rest of our life.
Well, Ron, how can people get a hold of you?
I put together a great educational website, safermoneyspecialist.com. Articles to read, videos to take a look at, or give me a call right here in the Treasure Valley. Let's talk about how to protect your assets 100% and give you that lifetime income. And that number is 660-1372.
Ron, we always appreciate you. Anything else you'd like to share? Some driving tips, maybe? It sounds like you're on the road.
I'm on the road again. It's just a lot of busy, Traffic's heavy, but everyone out there have a blessed day and stay safe on the road.
Ron, we appreciate you. Stay safe on the road. Stay safe with your money, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, buddy. Have a good day.
Oh, have a good day.
Paid for by Ron Grant, your safer money specialist.
All right, Kevin Mill in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. We're waiting for the President of the United States to make more comments. He will address the media. And we've been kind of having an old home day here. We're covering fires, covering the escalation of the war, covering a lot of things. And, sometimes you just need to laugh. And hard to believe that America said, this guy stinks.
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And I tell you what.
Let's go to Dylan. He can respond to that at 580-KIDO. Good morning, Dylan.
Kevin Miller. Thanks for that little clip there. I don't think you can respond to that because it's beyond. Thanks for having Phil Hardy on, talking about the 30,000-foot view of the fire. He did make a comment that concerned me a bit. The comment of it may have reached the tree line is that's pretty ambiguous, because reaching the tree line, and you look at the different apps available, I believe it has, and having personally experienced a land use agreement with the Forest Service and how much they can forecast fire, when they showed up on our property, a wonderful person who had helped us and those that were around, they knew a week before. They're like, it'll be here in 7 days. They have some tremendous calculated abilities to know when and how it's going to behave. And when you have some evacuations already in play, there's one community already a go, which means go out. They know. I don't like to say that they're downplaying it, but they might be a little bit. So be conscious of this. Boise County is tremendously under-resourced as a county itself. It is going to require a lot of community support. And there are lots of pockets of homes that go right over the top of that ridge and down every other and out. And when they say it's a go, evacuate, you are blocked from your private property for weeks ahead. You've got to have a place to go. You might lose your home. You might not lose your home. They're tremendously good at saving homes, but lots of animals, lots of everything that you have. Boise is close. There's lots of philanthropic people here, not very far from here. Just can see what the future looks like. Personal experience. There's going to be a lot of elderly folks, people on oxygen, a lot of people that is their home and nowhere else to go. I'd be very, I'm sure very soon you're going to start hear things organizing for these folks. So if you want to help somebody, some of our greatest in need, our elderly, Boise County is majorly people of retirement age, and maybe there's an opportunity to come together as a community and help some people out.
Well, what are you hearing on the ground, dude?
So I'm a member of a lot of the community groups. They're all concerned in their minds it's coming. I'm here to tell you that it probably is. If it is in the tree line, there is. I mean, we're talking weeks. again, right on the border of the ridge. They've already put everybody in stages of evacuation, and it moved very quickly. I mean, we're talking 48 hours of a fire. Can you remind me of what he quoted the acreage? Did he say 4,200 or 8,200?
Yeah, if I had that answer, I would have given it to you when you asked me the first time.
I was listening. I just didn't catch it, so I figured you were talking to him. But, you know, it grows pretty fast. But, you know, when they came to us, they knew 7 days later. And just like all the people that are on the bench right now watching it every night, their binoculars, I did the same thing. My wife and I sitting at the top of Fox Creek watching Grand Jean burn down. But here's the thing. Fire is a tool for managing forest, I believe, in their mind, and I believe that they like that tool for managing forest. It's hard. It's once a fire goes through, they're tougher to come through in the future. And so I don't know. My number one thing in this is, as you hear it develop, if it develops, there is going to be a lot of elderly folks they're not social. They live in the mountains for the reason. You might be hearing some organization of people needing help, and there's a lot of wonderful people in Boise that might be able to help some of those individuals.
Well, we haven't heard that yet, and that's only if everybody's evacuated. But is there anything that we can do about it? I know that's a dumb question, but a lot of people wonder, why does this continue to happen?
You know, I would, if you want to follow the Boise County Sheriff on Facebook. You know, your sheriff in a county like that has the utter toughest job of anybody other than being on the fire itself. That is a job that will be every waking moment of his life until it's over. And it is his sole duty as the protector of the people. We're talking about Sheriff Scott Turner, who's been experienced at this with the Wapiti fire. Follow the Boise County Sheriff Facebook page to see updates. And like right now, there's already a Red Cross facility set up right now, which tells you that they know it's coming. And now there's the Idaho City rodeo grounds is a depository for animals, so people can get their animals down there. They know it's coming, and it is. It seems like it's so far away, but over the course of 7 days, I'm sure the Boise County Sheriff will connect and anything as it relates to helping people. That's a great source.
Well, they say that it's going to be contained on the 12th. Does that, that's what they're releasing right now. That's the containment date. So I'm asking you to translate that. You laughed, and I don't take offense at that, but that's why you're on. And for a lot of people that don't understand, one of the many aspects of respect that I have for Dylan is not only is he served his country, not only is he a great husband and father and businessman and community member, but he's also lived this stuff. And he lost quite a bit of property and money to fires that he detailed as we first got to know each other. So he's a guy living this right now again.
Yeah, and it can travel far. It can travel far and fast. The 12th, as it looks right now, we have advertised a 0% containment to have it contained in 5 days at its current growth level. I mean, I would say God bless them. You know, they do have a great benefit in that area is you have a tremendous road system that's all over the place. You have a road system that runs right along the tree line. There's lots of roads that they can create defensible space and get trucks in there, and you know they fight the fire on the spot. If it's going to jump the road, they drive the truck and they go try to put that tree out, do whatever. But you know, it's all in the name of weather. We could just be utterly thankful for the rain that we received prior to this. But you know, I'd say that's pretty optimistic, given having been directly involved in the daily communications of the fire. Boise has a great opportunity to help their neighbors in Boise County right now, the Ada County folks, because they're going to need. We're talking elderly. That is the major of the population. A lot of these people are utterly helpless.
Our great friend Dylan Stocker joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning, 580 KIDO. So here's another one. And we'll ask you to speculate, and we'll say speculate, but do you expect the state to declare this a disaster?
Tough one. This, I'd be very interested to know the true connections. Hard to say. That's a governor's decision that comes with when you get FEMA involved, you're giving something up.
Well, I think Donald Trump actually gave people money in Caldwell for the flooding that happened with that storm. So I think he already gave us money for that. So obviously this is a lot bigger with respect to the people that were flooded.
That's the thing. It never comes for free. There's a trade, trust me. There's a system there, but hard to forecast this. It just depends on that growth. The things that people really need to be aware of is I work with somebody that's working on community resilience. I'll protect their name for now because they're working on a wonderful project. There are things transpiring in the FEMA system to where essentially the feds are pulling support in many ways to states when it comes to emergencies, and if states aren't prepared for their own self.
Yes, it's called Donald Trump redoing FEMA. Not to interrupt our friend Dylan Stocker at 580 KIDO, but is this something that the legislators listening should be aware of?
I think the legislators, if they're not, should be deeply analyzing what FEMA really means and what the trade-offs come.
Well, no, I'm talking about not your thing on FEMA, but this fire that and look, you're a native Idahoan, so I can remember a few fires 8 years ago, as Phil mentioned, where we had the whole place burning down. Table Rock, it looked like Dante's Inferno. I can remember, I think it was either Owyhee County or Gem County. I think it was Owyhee County where, then Governor Butch Otter, Lieutenant Governor Brad Little are just staring at the flames coming towards us. It is a challenge. So I guess to put that all into perspective, when we're talking about the legislators, obviously they're aware of this. Our answer to everything is more funding, more awareness. What is the answer, I guess, from the state perspective, from the lawmakers' perspective, if there is one, sir?
It's funding. Your state operates on about a $15 billion budget. It's all 44 counties combined operate on $2 billion, which comes from your property tax, which people would like to get rid of. Your rural fire departments, when it comes to fire, are generally and mostly all volunteer, and they're running on old equipment. And they're generally, they're not exactly 21, 22-year-old young bucks. They're a lot of older volunteers, and fire equals speed. When it comes to fire and EMS, there is a tremendous thing transpiring across the nation of fire and EMS volunteerism declining. And these communities don't have the money. They try to support it through, self-support, doing, little auctions and things like that to get money. But the state has a wonderful opportunity to look for ways to help fund rural fire and EMS, and they don't have the money to do it. They're beyond broke. Out of those 44 counties on $2 billion, half of all that money goes to Ada, Canyon, Bonneville, and Kootenai counties. What does that leave? It leaves a lot of broke rural communities, and when it comes to fire, you also have the insurance problem. So not only can they not defend themselves, they also are restricted from stopping fire on federal ground. So if they could have. So it's as a legislature, you got to fund the volunteer fire departments. You got to get money to the people who are willing to fight it, but they can't afford it.
Dylan Stocker, my man, appreciate you coming on such short notice with fire coverage. Hope you make it through.
Miller every day. Every day, my friend. 580 KIDO.
God bless you, Dylan. Take care, sir.
Take care.
More of your calls next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Clip of the day has to be Old Joe. Old Joe, say a few things, would you?
And by the way, I sit on the stand, and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap. And I tell you what.
There's so much to break down in that statement. Maybe we'll do that next hour. Thank you, Peak Health Idaho, sponsoring this hour of the program. More coming up. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. We're bombing Iran again. The peace deal appears to be off. The president is going again and again and again at NATO. Oh, and that's just the drama that is happening around the world, closer to home. The fire watch continues. And like we said, we are on it. We are taking your calls at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. The president said this recently. And by the way, this is in Qatar or Qatar, however you want to pronounce it. The president with the troops.
American people never forget that our service members and their families make incredible sacrifices each and every day so that all Americans can be safe and be free. And we love our amazing military families. Our military families are as good as you can get. The men and women here today are part of a noble tradition of service that has been passed down from one generation of Americans to the next. And your spirit and courage and sacrifice has always been there when we needed you the most. You're always there when we need you the most.
Back to that line from Ordinary World from Duran Duran, where is my friend when I need you most? Yes, I'm not a singer. However, at 580 KIDO, I got to tell you, the president acknowledging the military. While remember, we've been remembering Joe Biden. No, Joe is still with us, but remember when Joe said this?
And so you figure out how to live together like we do. You will never, never, never make it. America's strength ultimately lies in its people. There's nothing special about being American. None of you can define for me what an American is.
Oh, boy.
Can't define it based on religion.
And this joker was our president.
Race, culture.
Yeah, let's go back to this bumpkin.
America's strength ultimately.
Yeah, one more time, buddy.
There's nothing special about being American.
Yeah, move to Idaho, bub. We'll teach you. We'll get you out there digging ditches, which is a very good to really appreciate what you have. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And in, not Maine, Michigan, we have the Looney Tunes. And look, this is a public service for everyone who is a conservative, everyone who is a Republican, everyone who loves America. And I wish I could have, I guess this will be on YouTube because everything is. But the big debate last night between Abdul Al-Said and the woman or the young lady or the congresswoman, it really doesn't matter what or who she is. It matters what he's about. So here we go. This sounds great. I like this because I'm going to be a senior. Kevin, you already are a senior. We're going to, well, I don't want to ruin it. Let's hear it.
There are programs that folks have paid into. I believe in it. Mike Rogers, Donald Trump, they're going to sell us down the Potomac River.
60 seconds. I've talked to so many seniors who are struggling. They're struggling because they paid their home off 30 years ago, but the property tax is getting too high. Their premium on their Medicare is unaffordable and their Social Security just doesn't cut it. And they're worried they might lose that Social Security. So yes, absolutely, we have to lift the cap. It would make Social Security sustainable, but we've got to go further. I think we need to be eliminating the premiums, the copays, and the deductibles on Medicare. And we need to make Medicare fully sustainable by extending it to everybody. Medicare for all would do exactly that. On top of that, I think we need to be freezing property tax for seniors. If you paid off your home at some point, we can't expect you to keep up with property taxes that are going up. Now, how do we pay for that? Well, again, if we tax billionaires their wealth, if we were to invest in the Department of Education.
Here's the funniest thing about this. And, man, this guy sounds articulate, young, da-da-da-da-da. The trillionaires and the billionaires and the millionaires, they're just not going to let you tax them. They hire these people, competent people, ruthless people, efficient, and very good at their jobs. And they find these things called loopholes. And is our system the best ever? No. But all of a sudden, I mean, people are, there was a guy named Dick Lugar. No, it's not a gun. Senator Dick Lugar. And Senator Lugar wanted, what was it, Sweet William? Was it a national tax, like your tax rate would be the same? And let's see, Steve Forbes had one as well, where everybody paid, like, regardless, 10%. Didn't matter if you made $1 million. Didn't matter if you made $20,000. Everybody paid the same. I think Dick Lugar was the national sales tax. I get those two mixed up. During the break, I'll figure it out. And this was over 30 years ago when I was young and naive and 26, 27 years old and living the dream, interviewing all these presidential people. And like Dick Lugar was one of the greatest senators of all time from Indiana. Steve Forbes, one of the world's richest men. Forbes magazine, Malcolm Forbes' kid, da-da-da-da-da. They give you the time of day. Now, today it's easy. You just have to, have a following on social media, which isn't easy to get, or podcasting. There are just so many more elements, so we have to compete with those things. But, the criticism that we had back then of a national sales tax or a national income tax would be that you would have the black market. You would have people circumventing it. In principle, yes, tax everybody the same, but people, that's how they got their money. They don't give it away. You have people that are driving Lexuses or McLarens or whatever going to Walmart or Winco. And it was always funny to me that there was somebody in an Escalade going to Walmart, and I'm going, really? That's how they got their Escalade. And it's not a Rudy Pooty, mamby-pamby Escalade. It's a real-life, holy flippin' flutin' Escalade. So back to this guy. How does a socialist or a communist win in America? This guy.
So that we're paying centrally for public schools in an equitable way. There are a lot of opportunities for us to lift the burden off of seniors who've done their job. They've worked extra hard. They deserve a dignified retirement, and we've got to be thinking about how to offer them that.
Man, 30 seconds. I'll tell you, the loon sounds good, doesn't he? He sounds credible. Watch out, Michigan. I think the only way you can win that one is you have to play dirty and play the man card. Well, men are bad, and we've got to go with a woman. That would be the only way she's going to win. Phone numbers here: 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Top stories going on: fires throughout Boise County. We've had complete coverage. If you missed Phil Hardy, if you missed Dylan Stocker, you can get that on our podcast and also available on YouTube as well. More coming up with YouTube with us coming up very soon. In addition to that, Jonathan Savage, live from Ankara, Turkey. The president, we're waiting. A lot of things percolating. And by the way, we've been reminding ourselves of just how bad Joe Biden was. And, of course, taking your calls about the issues that matter to you. One more thing to be inspired about. How do you stand up to the HOA when they get it wrong?
Not going to let them bully me with fines.
Oh, that clip is still bad. So we have a San Diego folks, actually a few of them. Let's see if we can play this out.
Every month that my flag is up.
This flag represents freedom. And
there we go. Let me intro this properly. So here we have San Diego residents. Why more people will be moving to Idaho? And, of course, I think this has happened occasionally here in Idaho. Is there anything worse than the HOA? Let me explain that next. Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO. Frustrating than the HOA. Is there? We'll tell you what's going on in California. Maybe you have an issue here with it in Idaho. I look at my HOA. Hey, you pay dues. Every year they go up. Every year, at least with my HOA, they don't seem to really enforce the rules, if you will. By the way, speaking of rules, 0 is a pretty exciting number. It is? Well, do you want to be a 0? How can 0 be exciting? Well, how about when we're talking about 0% financing? That's right. That's exactly what you'll find this month at Treasure Valley Subaru on just about every new Subaru model. I was just there the other day. Boy, they've got some outstanding looking brand new Outbacks. How about this one? Speaking of the Outbacks, that includes the completely redesigned 2026 Outback with 0% financing for up to 75 months. You'll also find 0% on the Subaru Forester, Crosstrek, and the 3-row family-friendly Subaru Ascent, which we have one of those. Wonderful car. While you're there at Treasure Valley Subaru, don't settle for an ordinary test drive. That's right. They have their own off-road track. I like it. Actually, I walk it quite a bit when I'm hanging out there. Treasure Valley Subaru is the only dealership around with the ultimate off-road test drive experience. Their exclusive off-road test track lets you experience the Subaru's superpowers, or as others say, capability, in a way you simply can't get anywhere else or on the streets, only at Treasure Valley Subaru. And if you're shopping for a truck instead, don't overpay for a new one when you can buy a like-new truck for half the price of a brand-new truck at Treasure Valley Trucks at the Treasure Valley Subaru location. That's right. They've got it all. How about something to tow a boat, a trailer, a truck for work? Don't pay more. How about F-150s, Tacomas, Rams, GMCs, Silverados, and many, many more at Treasure Valley Trucks, Treasure Valley Subaru, the KIDO Center Pre-Owned Superstore, Treasure Valley Trucks, and the Treasure Valley Service Center, home of Juan, Brandon, Kevin, Ben, the gang. All together at the KIDO Center Auto Mall and online at TreasureValleySubaru.com. Please tell them Kevin Miller sent you. So I think this is, oh boy, apparently Plattner is going to make a decision, allegedly. So here's one. You're in your neighborhood. You love America. Another reason why people are moving to Idaho. But does your HOA actually work? Like I said, some HOAs, like mine, you're not supposed to have, I don't think you're supposed to have like cars on the road. Like you can't park your RV, you can't park your motorhome, you can't do any of this. Do they do it? Yes. Well, the maintenance system's gone down, need to pay more, and it's kind of well maintained. What a racket to be in, the HOA. And I'm not talking about the HOA board. I'm talking about like the company that runs the HOA. Except if you run into one individual who's on vacation, Tea Party Bob, and he used to live in Meridian by the golf course, so he ruled that thing with an iron scepter, an iron rod, if you will. And imagine an HOA being run by Tea Party Bob. Yeah, it's happened. It happens in Valley County as well. Let's roll on. So this is what happens when we have people. I mean, how in the world can you be in America and not love the American flag?
No, flag isn't coming down. No, everybody had flags up, the whole community. But now the last 2 years, it's slowly, one after another, everyone's flags have come down.
They revisit this again. If the policy stands, then I will be fined every month that my flag is up.
This flag represents freedom and sacrifice and blood that was shed for this country.
Cook says she's a direct descendant of revolutionaries. She wears a Daughters of the American Revolution tattoo. Her husband's father received a Purple Heart and Navy Cross for his sacrifice in World War II.
This is important, and people need to understand that they need to stand up for our country because there's too much at stake.
Residents say this debate with the HOA began 2 years ago. In part of an email explaining the policy in October of 2024, a board member identifies flying an American flag as essentially a political affiliative view.
I think that they don't like looking at my American flag.
The HOA board office was closed. When NBC7 called, the phone service did not include a voicemail option. In a more recent email to Cook, dated May 8, 2026, the Ambiance Owners Association wrote, "These restrictions are not meant as an inconvenience or an invasion of freedom, but rather as a means of maintaining harmony, continuity, and property value." Dave is doubling down. He's had a flag in the front of his home for 35 years. Instead of taking it down, he added a second in his backyard to this palm tree.
They're trying to tell me that the only way we could have one is not in the front or the side of the common property, but I can in my backyard.
Like Cook, Collins was urged to attend Tuesday's board meeting to make his case for displaying the American flag or face a $100 fine.
For 35 years, that flag has been on that corner.
I should not have to argue about my freedoms to display the symbol of freedom in America.
And that is in San Marcos, California. By the way, a couple of interesting things in the world of sports. We have couple things, man. This is interesting. Number one, on the sports side, the Pac-12 will not have media days. How this hurts Boise State. You can read that story now at KIDOtalkradio.com. And we have from the Deseret News, conference presidents and athletic directors will meet in August in an attempt to curb anti-LDS chants directed at BYU fans on the road. What Big 12's Brett Yormark said about the college football expansion, Brendan Sorsby, and religious slurs at BYU games. That's on the Deseret News. By the way, the Big 12 taking a beating because they signed a deal with Monster Energy, which will give, apparently, that you can have, I believe it's 2 logos, so the conference can sell a logo patch on a jersey, and I believe the team can as well. Boy. So, but back to the religious thing, and it's not even to say that. I mean, what's the upside in doing that? Why would you go after people? It's just crazy. Coming up, Caldwell rebels. Caldwell rebels on this one. And this is a topic so delicious, I have forgotten about it. We first brought this to you a while ago, and I can remember when they put this in. It was announced, I believe, by the Caldwell Police Department and other police departments, these flock cameras. And I'm thinking, we live in the Mountain West. I know that, Kevin Miller, you tenderfoot. You're right. But the fact that these cameras went in and nobody really said anything about it. Now, from what I understand, you have people saying, hey, what we're going to do is we're going to put these in and everything will be okay. And then somebody said, well, I'm going to sue you. You're going to sue me. So then somebody decided to threaten a lawsuit. There was a big meeting in Caldwell the other night, and people saying, we didn't agree to this. We didn't do this at all. Now, a lot of people love the flock cameras. Now, how does it work? Apparently, the trips with motion, the camera determines if it's a vehicle or not. It determines if it's not a vehicle, it doesn't register. So this is from the flock camera people as well. But many people allege that these cameras in Caldwell and everywhere else can be used for nefarious means. One of the things that I think about, oh, by the way, someone wrote on X at 580 KIDO, the only good flock camera is a dead flock camera. So apparently this is going on all over the country. People putting in these flock cameras and drones and everything else. Now, you're not going to like this, but I'm not a fan of them, but I think it's gotten so ridiculous. And I think Boise tried to do this, put in red light cameras. Well, it's going to cause a danger. How many accidents have we had recently because people are stupid and they run the red lights? Other people are saying the flock cameras and their ilk are always presented as safety measures. Sure, they see speeders and purse snatchers, but the digital camera footage is nowhere described as being deleted if there is no crime witnessed, and the government can always add actions decreed by them. So you have people that have said, look, we're rebelling against this. This is not what we voted for. It's unconstitutional. And as I've said before, who's looking out for you that they were allowed to go in, and then you have a private citizen that has said, I'm going to sue you. because I didn't agree to this. We'll take a look at those stories and more coming up. Phone numbers here, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, gas prices could fall below $4 according to AAA. That's good news. In addition to that, we are waiting for the president to speak again. We heard him earlier this morning saying that Iran is going to pay. Finally, a story saying that Kevin Miller was right. A home in Meridian caught fire early Sunday morning after improperly discarded fireworks reignited hours after they were used. Firefighters quickly responded to the scene and were able to stop the fire from spreading inside the house. The fire started when the used fireworks were thrown into a trash can next to the home before they had completely cooled. Officials, once again, because we are dealing with fire, remind you, the public, to soak used fireworks in the water to cool them completely before disposal to prevent any type of similar incidents. Thankfully, no injuries were reported, and multiple emergency response teams were on the scene. What it must be like to really to work those scenes? Know what I mean? What do you mean, Kevin Miller? Like the holidays, you can't really appreciate the holidays because you're in it again and again and again. We hope to hear from you. If not, great more content from yours truly, Kevin Miller, on 580-KIDO. Your home for Fox News is 580. Say it with me, everybody. KIDO. Saying, yeah, City of Nampa's been using license plate readers since 2023. Wow. Lee Joe joins us now on 580-KIDO. Hello, Lee Joe.
Hey, good morning. Quick item of business. A friend of mine just passed away. I'm going to his funeral today. He had Idaho 2 Fly has been on your show, and
yes,
and he enjoyed their working with them before he passed, and getting some fishing in. HOAs are socialism you paid for. Furthermore, your dues that you paid usually more than eat up whatever quote unquote property value they protect. The HOAs should be banned in Idaho as a violation of property rights. And you can't prove that, especially now with all these HOA type lawsuits coming up. There's always an HOA lawsuit. You can't prove that people aren't actually going out and looking for houses without HOAs and spending more for them rather than be strapped to an HOA. So there's my diatribe on that. Socialism, you pay for it. Don't do it. Get out of them. Destroy them. Remove them from your neighborhood, and you won't be subject to the tyranny of the democracy. Our Robert Jones was sentenced yesterday for protesting at the cop's house, and the prosecutor recommended weekends in prison for, I'm guessing, probably a year or so. And
every weekend in prison?
Yeah, because he was homeschooling his kids and what have you. That's what the prosecutor recommended. The defense was like, yeah, okay, but the dear judge, corrupt judge, we know this from family court that he's been over, the dear judge decided he was going to throw 6 months up to 5 years in Idaho Department of Corrections at him. This judge has apparently been, told by his cronies in law enforcement and remember Robert Jones is a good friend of Ammon Bundy, or might have been told by some of the governor's people that this guy needs to go away and stay away. And so he's a political prisoner for a First Amendment protest on the sidewalk.
So wait a minute. How long is he going away for?
6 years, 6 months without the possibility of parole. He could be paroled in 6 months, but 5 years indeterminate. So he could spend up to 5 years if he doesn't get paroled. And
So wait a minute. You said 6 months without parole. So he's going, and this is Ada County. He's going to jail.
No, he's full IDOC, full Idaho Department of Corrections, no county jail, nothing. And this is not what the prosecutor wanted. This isn't what the defense thought was going to happen. This is the judge going wild. He did a 40-minute rambling rampage, and basically, and one of his words was that he was doing this to set a deterrence for the public.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and let me jump in for 2 seconds. You're right about that. You are incredibly right about that. This is to send a message that this is not acceptable in Idaho.
Right, and this is your cronies saying, we run this place. You don't have the liberty under the Constitution. He made a bunch of arguments against the Constitution, and then the next word he said was, but I'm for the First Amendment. This judge, and like I said, we know from his rulings and his actions in family court.
And he's elected, right?
Oh, they're all elected, quote unquote.
Yeah. Well, no, but and again, I'm not defending the action. Now, can they appeal this?
Yeah, it can be appealed. Robert's out of money, so it's got to be a public defender, and those guys don't do anything. They're just another government employee that's a buddy of the judge and a buddy of the prosecutor.
So let me hit you with this one, because you've been covering this case. Your loyalty to the gentleman is unquestioned, but why not? There's no attorney that would do this. There's anyone that would raise.
No. We're not one of those big outfits that has an ACLU.
Hold on. Lee Joe, let me finish, please. At 580 KIDO, there's no one that will take this case. There's no one that will raise money to hire an attorney. So this guy is just left to go to prison.
We found the attorney that will take the case. We raised money for the case. We've got $50,000 in lawyer bills. I don't know how much is still owing, but I know it's a lot. And we tried the lawyer out, but it's the same old thing. They protested at a cop's house, and that whole group of law enforcement and judges, if that judge rules anything other than throw the whole book at him, then he's going to be marked by the cops. And the cop, I'm not going to say his name, but the cop.
Hold on, Lee Joe, thank you for the call. Lee Joe, thank you for the call. We'll just leave it at that. And again, that's Lee Joe's perspective. If he was in court, so be it. If he wasn't, he got these secondhand, so be it. But if what Lee Joe said is correct, and the reason why I'm positioning it this way, I'm protecting the integrity of this program. What Lee Joe reported, if that's true, the judge is sending a message that you don't mess with the police in this state. You don't even come close to it. And what that tells us is that the controversy, the chaos of the pandemic, that is still contaminating us and still impacting us today. That was some crazy times. And Idaho is a hang 'em high state. Idaho is a law enforcement state. But I'm going to get with Lee Joe and investigate that further. If again, what Lee Joe is saying is true, the prosecutor said okay, the Fed said okay, and the judge, which is his prerogative, their prerogative, it's a tough one. We move on to Mark, the watchdog of Eagle, Idaho, with Kevin Miller at 580 KIDO. Hello, Mark.
Hello, sir. Good morning. This happy, hot Wednesday here in Idaho. Flock cameras and HOAs. Let's go to the flock camera bit first. Just came out, I think it was on Breitbart. Maybe I saw it on Fox News on my phone app. But did you hear about the U.S. Air Force engineer back in Virginia named Jeffrey Scott Sovereign, which is funny, sovereign like sovereignty? 41, he was arrested with facing multiple felony charges for allegedly destroying 13 flock safety AI license plate reading cameras across Virginia. He argued that they are warrantless tracking devices and that they're violating our Fourth Amendment rights. His actions apparently sparked a significant national debate over mass surveillance. This kind of gives you an idea, again, no matter what, we seem to be heading in this global one world government, George Orwell on steroids, 1984. That's what it's looked like. We don't seem to have any input, just like the data centers out there in CUNA, who somehow they get free rein to come in here, steal our water and our electricity, and no input from the public. So somebody's got to change that in the state legislature, because I can tell you there are people that we obviously know, Kevin, here at KIDO, that in our government that are involved with allowing this to go on without any public input whatsoever. So now, HOAs. I've been on the board in the past in an HOA in my subdivision, and I can tell you they're not all the same. HOAs help to keep people's property values from going down, because you have some nitwit who moves into a home or buys a home. And now the other issue is now some of these HOAs in these older subdivisions, they're becoming renters. In other words, they move and then they rent the house out. And people who rent, I hate to say it, for the most part, don't give a damn how the property looks on the outside. What they do inside is out of sight, out of mind. But on the outside, when you have somebody who wants to use their front yard as a weed patch, while all your other neighbors who live in their homes, own their homes, are taking care of it, the paint may be falling off, which is a responsibility of the owner, but the owner is a lot of times out of state. I've dealt with that before. You have people like to park their cars outside their house, and you're allowed to do that for 72 hours. But after that, who wants to see people's old camping trailers, boats, whatever it might be, just parked out there?
Man, you're sounding like my neighborhood.
Well, yeah, that's what's happening.
And I'm like, what am I paying these slappies to do besides actually do nothing?
Well, in our case, we have, and you probably do too, you have a property management company handles things for your HOA. They have people
those
go
losers
through and enforce them. But
hold on,
yeah,
those losers that
what,
just take my money.
A lot of times they don't enforce the stuff, and then we have people who want. Here's another thing, Kevin. We don't even have. We have a board meeting that'll be coming up pretty soon, and nobody comes in and wants to volunteer. So people bitch and stew, and I volunteered to do stuff in our subdivision in the past for nothing. And if it costs repainting something, repairing something, whatever it costs me out of my pocket, I present the receipts to get reimbursed, but my labor has been for free. And we have people constantly bitch and stew, but they won't show up at the meetings.
Okay, hold on. Okay, and I agree with that. I want you to react to something. Do you mind? I'm sorry you've used the B word like twice. Okay, thank you. All right, this is breaking news. We have a drought. We have the Boise mayor now having control over the water rights. We have a lot of issues going on, and this is the latest social media post from the city of Boise. By the way, or from the mayor, you'll never find Brad Little doing this.
Well, hey there, Taylor brought me to Captain Comics today, aka the LCS, which is the local comic shop.
I come here on Wednesdays and I say hi to is usually Alex literally behind the counter.
So the Boise mayor is going to the comic book store. And the Boise mayor is sharing that she's going to the comic book store with this lady. Apparently, there's somebody that writes a comic called The Dog Sitter. Don't spoil the ending, Kevin Miller.
They grab my subscriptions for me, and then I go over to this one and I check out what's new every week. Dog Sitter, that's why I wanted to bring you in this week. week because local author and editor Jamie Esprich is going to be signing the first of that book came out today. And it takes place in Boise. What's his name?
Boise seems to love dogs, so I've never seen anything like Dog Island, so that actually is a date destination in the rom-com I've been doing.
That's great.
This book, The Dog Sitter, that just came out. It's been pretty exciting. See the city come alive through comic books.
This guy writes The Dog Sitter.
You know the city so well, and now you're writing about it. And you're right, I agree. It's a great dog city. My moose would agree too, I think.
Yeah.
Her dog's name is Moose and would agree with the Dog Sitter comic book writer. Aren't they raising taxes in Boise? Aren't there curbs that need to be painted?
My own dog, Huckleberry.
That's a good name.
It's perfect.
That's a good name.
Too. So he always gets like really good responses. But I love downtown, and I love the walkability of it. When other comic book people visit here, we always take them to Freak Alley.
Yeah, the problem is you have to walk because you can't drive your car.
See the artwork. There's just a lot of stuff like that, really Egyptian, like historic. So using a lot of those landmarks within the story as a backdrop is much more interesting than just like your standard sort of generic city where so many other like comics and films and things are set. You just feel like, yeah, it's a great hangout city.
Well, thanks for featuring Boise in your work and for making Boise your home.
Taylor brought me to Captain Comics today, aka the LCS, which is the local comic shop.
I come here on
Kevin Miller, 580 KIDO, 436 580 KIDO. A couple things going on. We've got the sparks flying in the Michigan presidential Senate primary. What am I going to do the rest of the day? Well, I'll probably watch that on YouTube because I love politics. We all love politics. The Claremont fire continues to burn, but chances are, hopefully, it will get under control. People will not have to be evacuated. I want to thank Phil Hardy for joining us, for saying, hey, man, this is our challenge from a macro and micro level. Dylan Stocker on the scene in Boise County, and a lot of people wondering what's going to happen. I mean, life is so difficult enough as it is. And look, a soapbox Kevin Miller for a moment. You know, think twice before you run the red light. Think twice before you tailgate. Think twice on making things avoidable. It's really not worth it. And look, there are a lot of things that we can't do. You know, sometimes the utilities cause the fire. Sometimes the lightning causes the fires. How big are the western wildfires? The guy that loves the West, particularly the Mountain West, Taylor Sheridan, if you watch the opening scene of the second Yellowstone series spinoffs, what is it? The Dutton Ranch, people lose their homes there, and that's just the life that they live. And we choose to live here. We love it here. By the way, on our website, another great story we just put up. Idaho, once again, number 3 in the nation. We used to be number 1. Utah has fallen to number 2. What state is number 1? This will shock my parents. New Hampshire. Best state to move to. A lot of high taxes, a lot of libs there. I guess if you're a lib, yeah. But regardless of that, what have we learned today? The president sanctions are back in place. What should we say? The attacks are continuing on Iran, and it ain't looking good. Probably infrastructure is next, and we're going to see how that plays out. And by the way, just to comically break it up, our Kevin comedic moment was the Boise mayor touring the comic book store. I love comics, but I'm not the mayor. And Joe Biden, once again, an oldie but a goodie, talking about his hairy legs. Let's move on to a more serious topic. And before we get to the Charlie Kirk story, we're so happy to have a great team locally and nationally here at 580 KIDO. And I got to tell you, these guys continue to grow on us, continue to expand their audience. The Clay and the Buck Show. Good friend of mine, Jason Barrett, who runs BarrettMedia.com, had a chance to talk to Buck lately. And by the way, if you follow him on X, at SportsPD or Barrett Media, you'll see an interview that I did, or on YouTube, with them nationally yesterday. But first, let's take a look at what was it like for Clay and Buck to fill the shoes of Rush Limbaugh.
we had a very honest, from the get-go, conversation both off-air and then on-air with the audience about really what the mission was and what our mentality was about it, which was there is no replacing Rush. And honestly, one of the reasons that the decision was made to go with 2 hosts instead of 1 was essentially an admission, almost an homage to look, there's no replacing Rush. We do want to continue with this conservative talk format content to serve the audience. And so the joke that Clay and I make now with some frequency is no one could fill Rush's shoes. So Julie put me in one and Clay in the other, and we, move as fast as we can for the benefit of the audience. So we approached it with I think, due humility, because it is true, Rush saved the AM band, and Rush, all the superlatives you could think of are completely accurate. And I was Clay and I was interesting too, and Julie and Premier saw this. We complement each other in a lot of ways, but we also are quite different. I mean, I didn't mention, why was at the time, the Blaze interested in me for media? This is how I got into media. The mission, the mandate was to find a under 40 national security expert who is conservative. And just through word of mouth, it came out. I just come back from Afghanistan, and I've been in Iraq twice before that, right? So I had a CIA background. Clay comes from a sports and entrepreneurial and even legal background. He's the only person I've ever met who practiced law in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So we bring 2 things together that expands, I think, what the sort of offerings are for the audience, while also being very committed to overall Rush's ethos. But we were very honest with them. We're like, look, we're not Rush. There is no Rush other than Rush. We are here to serve you. We're here to do the best we can every single day for this audience. We think it's an honor. We both love the job, and I think that really comes across. We love the audience. We want to do our best for them every day. We approach it with, a minimum of ego, which I think is good for, it's maybe a little unusual in the business, but it's nice to come in there and just be, look, guys, we're not trying to do the impossible here. We're just trying to be the absolute best show we can for you every day. And I think that authenticity is why now 5 years in, all we do is get calls from people who are like, look, I love Rush. There's no replacing Rush, but I'm proud of what you guys have done in 5 years.
Yeah. By the way, that show is not Rush's show, but I guess they're both in their mid-40s now. But and again, 1 minute they're talking soccer, the next minute they're talking business, and of course politics, and they both really offset each other very well. And that show is only going to get better and better. But a little taking you behind the scenes of the curtain here at 580 KIDO is very proud to lobby internally and externally to bring that program in. And the audience of that show, particularly locally, continues to grow. And like I said, I couldn't believe they were doing complete soccer coverage. But there are a lot of people that dig that stuff, and we want to appeal to a greater conservative tent. By the way, I caught them yesterday. Actually, was it the other day, where they were talking about and they were debating somebody concerning the conspiracy theories involving the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Here is Donald Trump Jr. just down the road talking about this as he's covering the trial.
No real set game plan and 6 officers for a turning point event. And anyone who's watched the news in the last decade or so would realize there'd be thousands of people on this campus. So I imagine there's some frustration with that, but I think she just wants justice. She's doing an incredible job just holding it together, given the circumstances and the sheer brutality of how this all happened. And, frankly, some of the sheer noise that has come after her and attacked her and the organization and all of that, which is, again, I've stayed quiet. I've supported her. We've talked, regularly ever since. I haven't been that vocal because I haven't known what's real and what's not. But having literally been there in the room, seen the evidence with my own eyes, it's very clear to me that Tyler Robinson will be found guilty.
Take that, pro-life. Take that, Candace Owens. Take that. More from Donald Trump Jr. in a moment. By the way, going back to this, only 6 officers on duty with no prior safety briefing. Dangerous world for all of us today, especially Charlie.
Here, some of the video that was played in court is something that we have never seen before, and the public seeing it for the first time. It's my understanding on Monday, there was some video that was played, and Erica chose to get up and leave the courtroom at that time for obvious reasons when that fatal shot was fired. How's she doing? What does she want America to know?
Listen, she is doing as well as she can be under the circumstances. She was obviously very grateful that Bettina and I were there to just support her. You know, obviously I've been friends with her as long as she's known Charlie. And she's just a great person, a mother trying to get by, trying to, fulfill her husband's legacy. There's obviously a lot of sadness in all of this. I think there's a lot of frustration, frankly, that this could have ever happened. I mean, one of the things I did hear that was sort of shocking was that there were only 6 officers on duty, on this campus event. No briefing beforehand, no real set game plan, and 6 officers for a Turning Point event. And anyone who's watched the news in the last, decade or so would realize there'd be thousands of people on this campus. So, I imagine there's some frustration with that.
Has to be. But you go on and on and on, and you get used to those things, and you think, well, who's going to do these things? Well, allegedly, Mr. Robinson, 580 KIDO. Here is Mr. Trump talking about his dad and how they continue to honor Charlie Kirk's legacy by supporting Erica Kirk and the rest of the family. You think about this, and whether you've been a victim of crime, known a victim of crimes, how do you define that? Your life is changed forever. Your life is literally taken from you. And what we're learning is this is how things are prosecuted. Cases are prosecuted. The prosecution does not have to reveal everything. And now they are. Hey, thank you very much for listening. We know you have a lot of choices. Appreciate you hanging with us. We're with you every step of the way. God bless you. Kevin Miller loves you. And regardless, keep the faith.